Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another Chelsea transfer news special that is actually packed with all sorts of different things. We've signed a player. I know we signed Nkunku, but that never really counted because we signed him back in November or whatever it was. But we've actually signed a proper player now, not just one, three. Even though two of them are obviously meant for the academy and loan army and multi-club model, we will touch on those regardless. Azpilicueta is to leave Chelsea Football Club, so we will do a little bit of a thank you, goodbye, whatever else. We will talk about Azpi. Of course, Cesc Fabregas has also just announced his retirement from football, so we will touch on that. Apparently, there's going to be a new offside rule in football. Not in England yet, but they're going to test it in a few other countries, and it's a bit mental. So we will talk about that and what is actually going on with Chelsea sponsors. I know I seem to be one of the only people that actually seems to be bothered by this, but I'm baffled. How we are still using 3. It's still on the website. The deal expired last night. Why is it still there? What's happening? I do not understand. But also, Hakim Ziyech failed his medical with Al Nassr, and now his move to Saudi Arabia is off. So, all sorts of things that we will talk about today. And I will start with you, Lewis. First of all, I mean, it says it on screen. Rent-free Lewis G. That's literally what you have been over this last few days of PW, mate. I mean, it's been unbelievable. Mount's gone. Havertz's gone. You are living your absolute best life.
Yeah,
He's
man.
an absolute troll, man.
Continues. It's beautiful. People are crying. Keep crying. Chelsea keep winning. We already made 212 million off half of these bums. We've got another 100 million to come. Keep the money rolling. Keep the money rolling. Keep the likes rolling as well while you're at it, people. But yeah, big up Laurenz. Great to be back. Big up Mohammed. Big up Max. Let's get into it.
Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, you are living your best life. I mean, you're talking about in terms of we're making so much more money. We're not making more money on Hakim Ziyech, apparently. What? How can this happen? How can you not?
That guy's a fucking boomerang, bruv. It's the second time now. The guy's a boomerang. You throw him away, he comes straight back at you. Here's what it is. At least he's got 100k in it. It's not too much. He's only worth 8. We're not missing.
I mean, that is true. I guess that's one way of looking at it. But I mean, imagine we can't get rid of him again. What are we going to do? Is he going to be our fourth winger? Are we going to terminate the contract? What are we going to do? It's baffling, absolutely baffling. We'll look at it in more detail in a second. Mo, I'll come to you. Thank you for joining us again. I appreciate it very much. I'm not sure which one of the stories I want to put on you straight away, but I might as well start with Azpi, I reckon. What are you feeling? Azpi leaving? On the one hand, it was long overdue. On the other hand, it's still a bit sad, isn't it?
I'm not gonna lie, I feel relieved. I don't know how else to put it, man. It sounds like I'm an ungrateful fan. It's not that. It's just I'm not a fan of us keeping players long overdue, like to leave the club, man. He's been struggling at our club for a little while, and I like players to end on a high note. And we send them on their way. The way we did Eden Hazard, I thought was perfect. Like, we need to give people that type of ending. End on a high, just leave the club. We will clap you out. We'll give you the respect that you deserve. And to be fair, Azpilicueta, I think, no matter what happens, we've always said it. Like, we respect what he's done for the club. We respect the fact that, obviously, he stayed for as long as he has. But also, he's been so versatile for us. He's a player that we've relied on several possessions at the back. And he's not complained about Chelsea Football Club, at least to my knowledge, and he's not caused the havoc in any way, shape, or form. And for someone who we signed, I believe it was 8 million, 7 million, I can't even remember, but it was so cheap. I'm like, we've gotten a lot out of this guy, and I respect him for what he's served in terms of being at our club. But whatever his next journey is, it's outside of England. I wish him the best of luck. And I hope he enjoys it, man, because at the end of the day, I've got no hate or anything towards the guy. He's not someone that I have had to always say, oh, my issue is when he becomes first choice and we are asking him to do things that we know he's not good at. That's always been my issue. I'm like, we know he's not good at this. Why are we constantly asking him to do things that he's going to fail at? If he's good at his defensive side of the game, which for a long period he was, I'm like, he's got a place here. If that starts to deteriorate, we need to get rid. And so I'm just happy to see that happen. And it feels strange because obviously this clear out, I don't think people are deeping it, but I don't think people are going to deep how different of a squad this is until we see these players together. And we're like, God damn, like we've literally bought a new squad in the space of 2 years.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, hey, Percy, I don't think it's quite that deep. I don't think Lewis cares that much, especially when you're talking to some wild middle-aged men.
People losing friends, he's lost his whole gimmick. Here's what it is.
God damn
There
it.
you go.
That guy's lost everything in a year. Tuchel, Havertz, and Mount all because of Boehly. I don't blame him for having a Boehly out agenda. It's all he's got left.
Yeah, to be honest, I would be fuming if I was him as well, I will say. And Maxi.
It's because also Lewis is a troll, guys. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Lewis knows how to troll properly.
That guy was chatting shit about me because I took a picture of Aubameyang, for fuck's sakes. Ooh, you back Lukaku. You still back Mount and Havertz. They're both rats. What are we doing? It's a rat off. At least stop backing
Mount
Lukaku.
didn't even earn a third of what Aubameyang earned, to be fair. So, you know.
He didn't play like he deserved a third of it, so it is what it is.
God damn.
Aubameyang couldn't play at all, I guess. So, you know.
See why?
That's Potter's fault and you know it, bruv.
It might be Potter's fault, but I might be backing Potter all the way up to the bank on that. But yeah, just quickly.
No argument here.
No offense, by the way.
Did he just freeze or is that me?
Yeah, he's frozen for me too.
Okay,
Me?
Oh no,
Hey, you're back. You're back now.
Why am I freezing? What's happening today? Earlier when I joined here, Pice was saying my mic sounds weird. Now I'm freezing. What's happening? Anyway.
Is it hot over there?
Well, not even that hot today, so I don't know why. Maybe it's too cold. Who knows? Everything freezing. Pice, thank you for being back on. Appreciate it as always, bro. I gave everyone a little topic to start our conversations with. I guess I'll start with Nicolas Jackson on your end. Obviously, we've spoken about him to some extent already, but yesterday Chelsea did make it official. We still don't really know what we're going to do with him in terms of, is he going to be our main striker? Is he going to be just competing with Broja to be our main striker? Or are we going to sign another striker and then what happens to Broja? And Jackson is just going to be the backup. We don't really know. But at least we've signed a striker because obviously, I mean, Aubameyang is still officially here, but hopefully leaving soon. Havertz has already left. We don't really have many attackers left, do we? So it's good that we got one over the line, I guess. But at the same time, what do you reckon? Happy with this signing? Bit up in the air? How do you feel about Nicolas Jackson, bro?
I'm a little bit excited, to be fair. You know, I'm intrigued as well to see what he can offer. You know, he's got some interesting attributes. I think probably the first striker we've had in a long time that can hold up the ball as well as he can. You know, he's young as well, obviously, so he has a lot of room to improve and grow as a player. And yeah, I'm glad you brought this up actually because the most impressive thing I've liked so far is actually like the way he talks in his interviews and stuff like that. So, you know, like in the video, he said, you know, I feel like I'm going to do amazing things here. And then in this article, he said a lot of things that I really, really liked. So, yeah, I like his mentality. And I think there's also a video that got leaked. It was on Chelsea's YouTube. I guess it was like a walk around Cobham or whatever. It got deleted. So hopefully they upload it again soon. But, you know, I think he was asked, based off the video I watched, I think he was asked, like, what is your best attribute or something? And he just named, like, every attribute in, like, for a striker. So he was, like, pace, strength, finishing. Like, he was like, yeah, I feel like all of them. So, you know, he's extremely confident, and that's what we're going to need, especially if he's going to be the star. We need someone that's going to back themselves, you know, to the hilt and through tough times. So, yeah, you know, hopefully for us, I think, you know, he does well, but obviously in pre-season as well, it'd be important for him to get a good head start. Yeah, kind of, I mean, him and Broja are kind of fighting for the reason not to sign another striker, right, I guess. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Intrigued more than anything, though.
Yeah, there you go. I think you put that very well, Mo. I'll get to you in a second because you and me spoke about Nicolas Jackson in the past already. But Lewis, I don't know what you think about him. Where do you stand on a signing like this? Obviously, around 30 million. I think just over 35 million pounds. Just over 35 million euros be paid in the end. Bit more than his release clause, but to get it paid in installments rather than in one go. Signing him from Villarreal, he had a very good end to the season, and we'll look at a bit of analysis in a minute as well. Very good end to the season, but before that, it wasn't really that great. In January, he was linked with a move to Bournemouth or Southampton. The move to Bournemouth then fell through because he was injured at the time. He came back from that injury and went on the best form of his career. And now he's come to Chelsea. So what do you make of this? Do you still want us to sign kind of a bigger name striker? Or would you even be happy if it's him and Broja essentially going into the season with Nkunku as the potential extra choice if necessary?
If we could get a Vlahovic or an Osimhen, or if we even looked to a Tony after January and the suspension's over, I'm not going to say no to it. Like, that's a quality striker. Right now, I'm looking at the best for right now. But I'm not really saying no to Jackson either. Like I've seen 5 years of some of the most hideous strikers ever. Give him a bit of time. Like this is one of those data signings and everything. There's been a couple hits so far. There's been a couple misses, but I've never looked at any of these signings and thought, what the hell are we doing? This guy absolutely stinks. So let's see what he's like in preseason in the first 2 games. From everything that I've read and seen about him, he looks like he's built in the mold of what could be a perfect centre forward for what we're looking for. But have to see with a bit of time. It's too early to judge, but I'll give him all the time that he needs. Like the bar is literally in hell with the forwards that we've seen over the last 2-3 seasons. He can't be much worse.
No,
he could
and
be,
he
but
is
he probably won't. He probably won't.
Yeah, no, exactly. He can't really be worse, and he is cheaper. So I guess it's a positive from that end. But at the same time, our not having any acceptable strikers for years and years and years on end, it needs to come to an end at some point. Because I mean, we want to win a league again, and we're never going to win a league again if we don't have a striker that can score a few goals.
Yeah, this feels like one of those. It's like it's like something Brighton would do, or fucking like Bournemouth said. We'd end up getting them from Bournemouth or Brighton in 3 years' time for 60-70 million. It feels like one of them sort of transfers. So you've kind of jumped the guard a little bit with this one, I guess.
I mean, hopefully we can also develop him like those guys do. Otherwise, I'm like, why didn't we just sign Ferguson from Brighton? You know, save ourselves the middle step and having to develop them themselves. Although, who knows how much Ferguson would have cost. Mo, I'll come to you on Jackson. What do you reckon? Also, by the way, obviously, I can't play the music of the announcement video. It's a vibe, but obviously copyright. So you're just going to have to watch it like this. I'm sure pretty much all of you guys, if not all of you, have seen it already anyway. Like Lewis said earlier, by the way, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But Mo, you were kind of gassed when we first spoke about Nicolas Jackson, if I remember correctly. Does that opinion still stand? And where do you sit on it in terms of, like the question I kind of asked to Lewis and Pice, in terms of, would you be happy if he was actually a first choice? Or I think more realistically, him and Broja are fighting to be first choice. Or do you still want us to put an Osimhen, a Vlahovic, I guess, or maybe a Tony January on top of it?
And I feel pretty similar to the way I did before. I think for me, with these types of signings, what excites me is like when you make these types of signings, you're starting to actually show that there is an aligned picture in terms of signing players before they become like maybe the players that everybody else is looking at, and then making sure that we develop them ourselves. I feel like that's the picture I'm seeing since January, where we're starting to sign players. In some effect, you've got your Enzo signings, which are already more proven and more ready to, contribute right away. But then also in that mixture, you always had players like your Mudryks, Maduekes, etc., that you have to develop a little bit further. I feel like this guy fits directly into that side of things, where we do need to develop a little bit further. He's not necessarily the most consistent player, but he's a player that has shown quite a lot of good qualities in traits. He looks like, on paper, what Pochettino usually thrives with. So from that perspective alone, I'm excited. We've signed him for 30 million. That means for me, there should be a lot more tempered expectations from fans, and it shouldn't be something where like, hey, he has to hit the ground running and this and that. At the end of the day, if we are all honest about what our outcome should be for this season, we need to get back into Champions League football. I'm not expecting some title contention from us this year. So he is able to contribute from that perspective. And I think that means we need to give the foundation to these players to actually develop them further. So I'm quite excited. I am very happy that the PR team have finally understood that, these announcements need to be an improvement on last season, because last season we were just rushing things and it was pictures of them in LA or wherever. Compared to this season where I'm like, we're actually putting a little bit of effort into the signings and announcing them properly. And even the departures,
even
I feel like
still
it's been
doing
quite class.
with the old sponsor.
Yeah. I mean, we can't please everybody by the looks of it.
No. But the song is a vibe. Like I say, I hold my hands up. I'll even make this public, as much as this might be slightly embarrassing. When Chelsea tweeted, "I'm sorry," ... I was like, how does "I'm sorry" have anything to do with Jackson? Because my mind for Jackson just went to Michael Jackson. I was like, what Michael Jackson song is anything to do with "I'm sorry"? I was baffed. And then everybody's like ridiculing me. I was like, flip side, I just thought of Michael Jackson. All right, give me a break.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it is pretty good. Like I'm looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to seeing what he does, because, and yeah, sure, I've seen a few comps, but I refuse to just make an opinion of a few compilations. So And I'm not going to go back and watch Villarreal games. What's the point? That's what there's preseason for. And then when we see him playing competitive games, we'll just see what we make of him, I suppose. I do quickly want to read through his interview on the website before we take a little bit of a analytical deep dive into him. Not sure if we're going to go through all of it, but we will at least start off with it. Exclusive, Jackson following his heart in the footsteps of his heroes. In his first interview since completing his move to Stamford Bridge, Nicolas Jackson explains why it will be a dream come true to play for Chelsea in the Premier League and reveals the trio of Blues strikers he idolised growing up. A versatile forward. I should probably zoom in a bit more, shouldn't I? Even if the layout of the Chelsea website, I don't know, man. If I will ever be on board with that. But any which way. A versatile forward, Chelsea first learned the skills of his trade by trying to emulate the feats of his heroes while playing football on the streets of Senegal, where he spent most of his childhood. It can only be most of it, because my guy's English is absolutely elite, considering he's from a country where they speak French, and now he's played in a country where they speak Spanish. So fair play to him. Following a brilliant 2022-2023 season with Villarreal, during which he became one of La Liga's breakout stars, Jackson is now set to follow the path of his childhood idols, having joined Chelsea shortly after his 22nd birthday. He discusses this while taking in the view of the West Stand lower. On his first visit to Stamford Bridge, a stadium he has seen on television so many times but will now get to call home, making it clear that once he knew of Chelsea's interest, this was the only place he was going to be playing his football in the following season. This is the first time I've been to Stamford Bridge. It's perfect, he said. It's very big and the fans are near the pitch. The Villarreal stadium is like that, so I'm used to the fans being right up close to the pitch, and I like that a lot. I wanted to join a big team, and Chelsea's one of the best teams in the world. Plus, I've watched them since I was young. I watched Demba Ba, Didier Drogba, Nicolas Anelka was good too. Big players. So I always dreamed of playing for a team like this. When Chelsea came, there was no question in my mind. I always had this kind of team in my mind. I talked to my family and my agent, and I have icons who played here, Drogba and Ba, big strikers. So when Chelsea came, my heart said the answer should be yes, and I decided to follow it and come here. I remember the Champions League final from 2012, and especially when Drogba scored that header right at the end. I watched those players for Chelsea when I was growing up, so I decided to follow their footsteps. Hopefully, that's what continues to happen now I'm here. It's not just a... All right, let's skip that. It's amazing to have this feeling, continued Nicholas. I watched English football when I was in Africa, and now I'm here. So it's a good feeling for me. I grew up watching the Premier League because for me, it's the best league in the world. So I love the Premier League, and I know a lot about it. And Chelsea. I met Demba when I went to Senegal with the national team. I wanted to ask him about Chelsea when I saw him during the last international break, but I couldn't because there were too many people around. So I decided to wait and text him about it once I have signed for Chelsea and send him the shirt I wore for my signing. 2. I spoke to my agent, Diomanzi Kamara, about the Premier League as well, because he played in England for a few teams, including Fulham, so he knows the league and this area. He told me everything about playing here, so I know a lot about it. All right. His connections through the Senegal national team stretch even further when it comes to information gathering ahead of his start to life in West London. On his last international appearance, his third cap for his country, Jackson won the late penalty, which allowed Sadio Mane to complete his brace, scoring in a memorable 4-2 victory over Brazil. The Bayern Munich forward repaid the favour by filling Jackson in on new Chelsea head coach Mauricio Pochettino, who Mane knows through their shared history with Southampton. I spoke to Sadio Mane about him, and he spoke very highly of him. He said amazing things about him. Sadio told me the manager is going to help me a lot to improve and do well if I listen to what he has to tell me. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah, obviously, here's a little bit of what we touched on earlier already. After the injury setback, which kept him out of action the first couple of months in 2023, Jackson came back stronger than ever with a switch to leading Villarreal's attack as a centre-forward rather than a role as a support striker in their 4-4-2 system, contributing to an incredible run of form that culminated in him scoring 9 goals as in their last 8 league games of the season and being named La Liga's Player of the Month. There you go. Yeah, I mean, did he say anything else that was super important? I think that is about it. I mean, I guess we can read that at the bottom. I know it was coming because I was working so hard. Everything just takes time and hard work. Before I was thinking that if I scored all these chances I had, I would have scored maybe 30 goals. I was working hard because I was missing some chances, but later I improved a lot and I improved everything. So I knew it could happen. It would happen sooner or later, and I was ready for it. I always give my best, give 100%, and always help the team because I want to achieve things as a person, as a group. I always want more achievements. So hopefully, if I work hard, these things will come and we will achieve things together at Chelsea with the support of my teammates and the fans, even though that was a bit longer than I would have liked. Just to move on from that for a second. The fact that he himself says, I used to miss a lot of chances, then I got a bit better at it. And I'll start with you, Mo, because I don't know, you seemed almost the most excited of anybody here. Does that put a little bit of worry into you? Because I don't know. We've had a lot of strikers that don't, there's certain footballers that just have a natural instinct of finishing and being clinical. And some players which have to learn it more. And the ones that have to learn it more, under pressure, they're much more likely to almost forget how to be clinical again. While the ones that are just naturally born clinical players, they don't, forget how to be like that, even when the pressure is on, even when the like I say, the pressure in terms of a bigger club, pressure in terms of, media scrutiny, fan scrutiny, but also in terms of a bigger game. So is that at all a sign to worry about? Or is it, if anything, a sign, well, he was bad at it, now he got better at it, so shows he can improve?
I think it shows two things. Number one, I think it's good to see from the player perspective, him acknowledging the deficiencies in his game and being able to understand that through hard work, through application, that he's able to change that into something better, and he understands that. The second thing for me, which I think is just as important, and it's why I tweeted about the whole Kai Havertz, we have failed him, and people weren't trying to understand the point I'm making, is when you sign these types of players, it is also on the responsibility of the club to understand these deficiencies beforehand so that they have a development plan in place for that player. Now, in terms of application and making sure that it happens, I think for me, what's important is that people just make sure that they trust the player to be able to get there, and they don't put all this pressure that is just so unnecessary and doesn't help a player's confidence. This is where I'm really happy we've signed him for 30 million. I do think the pressure is nowhere near as much as somebody who's been signed for 100 million or whatever the amount. And for me, what's important is that he's able to acknowledge it and he's able to get to work right away. I also think what's important with these types of situations is the manager that you place in charge. Is he the type of manager to focus on these things and try and make sure that the player improves up on them? And he's not also out here just, throwing the player under the bus every single time he gets an opportunity because the player isn't delivering exactly how he wants him to deliver every single time. These are all young players. For me, inconsistencies should be expected from young players, no matter what the amount that you sign them for. But I understand some people have high expectations for some players based on the price bracket that they come under. But you have to understand the market that we see right now, no player is being signed for the amount that they're truly worth. Everyone's being overrated in terms of that price range. So from that perspective alone, I think we just need to make sure our expectations are in line with what the player's actual capabilities are. I think the fact that we're not expecting too much from him is already a good thing for him. So he can only achieve what he sets out to do. And I would like to think that with time and with patience, we're able to get him there. And I feel unsure about how well we can make all of this work because there's so many players that fall under this category. So it's a bit of pressure on the manager. That is my only worry, is that he's got, out of a starting lineup of 11 players, he might have to develop 6 of them at the same time. That's crazy. And I think that's what makes it really difficult. And it's where I understand people's doubts. But you have to understand, we've tried the experience route. We've tried the tried and tested statistics type of approach where we've signed players that had high statistics in whatever league that we signed them from, and they come to Chelsea and they don't deliver. So I'm like, this is now where we need to kind of look at it differently. Look at the traits of a player, look at the manager that we have in charge, look at the other players that we have collectively put together, and do they complement each other? What can we do systematically to get the best out of them? And I think that's where the answer lies. So I'm excited for him, but at the end of the day, I understand where my expectations should lie. I don't expect too much from him.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part, because that's what I think Chelsea fans struggle with the most, keeping their expectations under control a little bit. I mean, people are saying, like, I'll come to you on that, Python, but we'll get into more details, or, we'll look at the scouting report by CFC Central on Nicolas Jackson in a second. But you are one of those people that says Champions League football and ideally a trophy, but at least a good, strong cup run is kind of the minimum expectations for next season. And if that's not achieved from your end, but also, and you're right, from a lot of fans, and they will not be happy with the ownership. They will not be happy with Pochettino. But we are building a kindergarten team. While we are competing, and I'll even take Man City out of it, we're still competing with Liverpool, we're competing with Man United, we're competing with Arsenal, we're competing with Newcastle, we're competing with Spurs, we're competing with Aston Villa. I mean, look at their squad. you could even argue that Aston Villa might have a better squad than us, at least not much worse, if at all, right? But their players aren't all 20. So for me, I mean, obviously the window is still long and we might still sign a few more experienced players or whatever. But at this moment in time, I feel like it's more me just talking a big talk if I say I'm expecting us to get top 4, top 5 next season. Because I don't think with the squad that it's going to be, I don't think we can sit here and expect that.
Too early to judge,
Chelsea,
though.
we should expect that. But if I don't have players that I think are good enough for that, then how can I sit here and expect it? So, Pies, first of all, do you even agree with that? But if you disagree with that, or if you do agree with that, what do we do with that situation then? Because are really all fans going to understand it? Because I don't think they will.
Nope, they won't at all. And they're well within their right to, as well. I don't think, we should, 40,000 fans should go there every week and be told, oh, no, it's okay, it's a process when Jackson misses 2 chances to not win us the game or something. It's on the board and the club and the players to deliver the right players and understand most points a little bit. But at the end of the day, Jackson's been brought here to deliver. So there's going to be no excuses, in my opinion, if he doesn't have, if he has a terrible season, then I have no sympathy for him. He was brought here to deliver. And he needs to deliver. Will we have some element of patience in, the first few months? Yeah, if he's playing well, yes. But at the end of the day,
something to go off.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, though, he's been brought here to score goals. He's a striker. And if you're not scoring goals, if he's providing them from Kunku and Mudryk and Madueke and Sterling, then fair enough. But if he's just, sort of another one where we're just like, yeah, he doesn't really solve a striker issue, then I have no sympathies, to be honest with you. I'm not like other fans that are going to sit through this just because the club have bought someone. So
no, I
don't
hear
think we
that. In
should
terms of
either.
the individual, if he's individually kind of becoming a problem, I absolutely agree with that. But if it's a collective issue, then
It'd be on the club as well, though, because it'd be on the club as well. Because if we have this guy, and Bro, you're up front, and both of them just aren't really cutting it, we're then probably going to have to move Nkunku out of position, and it's just like,
and then we don't have another proper 10.
Yeah, and then it's just like, even if we buy something, it's just like, why couldn't we solve this in the summer? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, it's people say like don't have high expectations.
It's still the summer.
People say don't have high expectations on Jackson, but if he is that starting striker, people are going to have high expectations because he'll be the starting striker of Chelsea Football Club. So
and that's my worry.
I mean?
I'm like, people can say all they want. He only costs 30 million, so the expectations will be lower. Yeah, sure, the price tag plays a part, but if you start every game for Chelsea, that's where the pressure comes from, not the transfer fee.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't mean this question necessarily targeted at Jackson. No, we're currently talking about Jackson. You took it into a Jackson point of view, which is also fair enough, to be honest. And on the Jackson point of view, I agree. I don't know. I just like... obviously, I agree with you that we can't just be happy and accept it. At the same time, I'm like, well, yeah, but if we can't every year do what we've done in 2022, 2023. We can't every year just completely overhaul our squad. So if we now sit here in January or even by the end of the season are like, we're not really happy with a lot of players here, then what are we going to do about it? You're not going to sell all of them again. You're not going to buy a whole bunch of new 25 players. Like, it's not going to happen, right? So at the end of the day, yes, there is not going to be unlimited patience, but there needs to be, because the club has put us into a position where that's our only way. Waiting and giving these young players time, because that's the only way we will come back to success realistically. I mean, Lewis, where do you stand on this whole like expectations thing? Do you go into a season as a Chelsea fan with your expectations just always the same, or do you adapt your expectations by what the squad is essentially?
I always want the squad to be competing for the top trophies, but you need to have a squad that's capable for it, and this squad isn't. So as of right now, all I want is top 4 and the domestics, as long as we don't touch Man City during the run, because I think we should be capable enough to do that. Yeah. I can't lie. I think you guys are speculating way too early into the window. Like, I get it. There's holes in our team right now. I understand it, but we've only just got to July.
Right this is the month. Right now, we don't even have a team.
Bro,
but there might be holes in our team at the end of the window. Right now, we can't even talk about holes.
This is the month they were talking about incomings. And we've only just got to the first day in that month.
Who are we genuinely linked with, right? We're not honestly linked with getting Osimhen.
But do you want those types of signings? Do you actually want those types of signings?
Absolutely.
That's besides the point, though. But
I think we're not learning a lesson here, but fair enough.
From Jackson, as I will from Osimhen, and my striker scoring 10 goals is different to my striker scoring 20 goals in terms of what the whole team can achieve. So it will make a difference depending on what other players we go for. Also, the fact that Enzo is currently our only senior midfielder and he's 22. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we will sign Caicedo, but then what after that? We've not even been linked to any serious other players. Lavia.
Well, it's been said that we're going to go for a second midfielder. It's been said we'll go for a second midfielder, potentially. Yeah,
but we don't know who. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but it's the 1st of July. Like, let's give it a couple weeks. If we're 2 weeks into the window, we're in the same position that we're in right now. Maybe I'd understand a bit more. Right now, it's the first day of the month where they said they were going to prioritize bringing in players. So let's see what happens by the end of the month. Let's see what the team's like by the end of the window, because by then we would have had 3 or 4 games underneath the new manager. We could judge things a lot better by then. There's no need to panic right now. It's too early.
I agree. There is no need to panic. I just want to, and I get what you're saying in terms of wait first, but I already want to prepare people that it might not be what they expect. And because I cannot be bothered for another Chelsea fan meltdown.
Though? We just finished 12th.
Yeah, but so many people don't know that, and they will still sit here and then slander Jackson and slander this guy and slander that guy. I mean,
they're idiots in there. You can't
slandering Mudryk.
The guys just come out and like that. They ain't got any sense.
But also, the thing is, if that doesn't point out to you the fact that we have, for example, what? Sorry.
No, I broke up. My bad.
Not a problem, bro. And I think that if anything, this is where I feel uneasy. I know Pies is like, you know what, go get me those big signings, because he's like, I want something now. I feel like we've tried that angle, and because there was a lack of balance in it, all it's done is that, bro, we've ended up having to sell the people that we've signed on big money for less because they haven't banked the way we would have expected them to, and we can't make the same mistake over and over and over again. I think right now, where Chelsea's at, we have to build a foundation. And part of building a foundation sometimes is you've got to take these riskier challenges of going after unproven players, but statistically, they've already said that they have done actually their scouting aspect correctly. Now it's just about bringing that stuff together and then making those big additions afterwards. Right now, as things stand, for me, it makes no sense for us to cry about not having experience in this squad when the reality of it is we don't know what this squad is going to look like 5 years from now. We've literally got zero idea. That's how bad it was a while ago. But suddenly, in one window, when we've been able to get, well, in the space of 6-7 months, we've been able to get rid of pretty much our whole midfield. Kovacic gone, Jorginho gone, N'Golo Kante gone, Ruben Loftus-Cheek gone. It means that we'll have a new midfield no matter what happens. It's not going to be the same midfield that we're going to have to struggle with. For me personally, I'm excited because I need to see a new look squad. I need to see this overhaul, and it's been something we've been crying out for so long. And if we get it right, we are feasting for a lot longer than what we have been in recent times, where one year we are winning the Champions League, and the next year we don't know if we're going to make it to top 4. We're crying out for it. That's how bad we were, guys. We were inconsistent in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and you're spot on, bro. But the big word that you said there is if we get it right. That's the problem. Yeah. I mean, the Freeze, yeah. He's talking about we're not in the market for top striker. The weight structure shows that. The weight structure is another kind of minor issue to me where I'm like, now that's fine. But if we're going to keep trying to lowball everyone, we're never going to have a top squad. Because, yeah, we might give all these guys 8-year contracts, but if we don't give them a proper raise once they've turned into proper good players, they will all go AWOL and force moves if we aren't willing to raise those wages. So I hope I'm not going to, be too pessimistic on that side of the situation right now, because we just don't know if in 2 or 3 years' time we're absolutely fine giving them bigger trophies. But right now we're not in the Champions League. We want to younger the squad and everything. That's totally fine. And someone else earlier in the chat said, not this one. Well, regardless of whether it was aimed at Pies, but the Clearo is great, but the Clearo is only great if the replacements work.
What is this comment? I literally praised everything.
I was about to say that because I was going to say Pies absolutely is like he is someone that appreciates the clear out because every stream I've been on, he's been talking about how
it's the
much we need a
signings that
clear
worry
out.
me more than anything. Like
Exactly.
But that's only a clear out is like, imagine we signed 20 League Two players. That makes the clear out really bad because yes, we might not be happy. Some people might not be happy with Mount and Havertz and Ziyech and whatever, but they're still better than League Two players. So like, if we replace them with bad players, then it's not going to be a good thing. It's only a good thing if we replace them with better players. Like, we can sit here and say we demand and need a clear out, which is absolutely spot on. We all know that, but it's only good if we replace them with better players. Otherwise, it's still a step back as much as the clear out itself was necessary. And the only one thing I want to touch on before I get to the super chat by Miguel here is what you said, Mo, in terms of the scouting. Scouting, I think people right now, football is putting a bit too much emphasis on scouting because there is certain things you can scout and there are certain things you cannot scout. Because look at all our signings so far. Yes, Madueke does great things. Mudryk can also do good things. But what we have already seen in 6 months is neither of them know what to do when they're in the box. Neither of them have a clue. So, have they not seen that in scouting? But the problem is that's the thing that's most difficult to judge in scouting, especially when you're getting players from very different standards of leagues. That's when, because a midfielder, easily scoutable. Centre-back, easily scoutable. When you get to the forwards, that's when scouting becomes much more difficult because there's a lot more just up in the air that's like so situationally dependent. But I just hope it works out. I just really don't want to go into the season with everyone expecting us to comfortably make Champions League and win a trophy when we might not have the squad ready for that. We might do, but we might not. And I like people are expecting as if we definitely will. Ray, can you stop talking about Mount? He's already gone. Why? Like, stop being so obsessed, man. What is this? And always in all caps. Why?
Yeah, save the slander for United away, bro.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know if Ray Allen is just an old man's name or if it's just old people that always use old caps. Stop with the old caps, man. Stop shouting. Anyway, let me get to the super chat and then we finally read through scouting report of Nicolas Jackson, which took me way too long to get to that now anyway. But Miguel says, Mo is spot on. People are banging on about experience as if we, A, we're going to win a trophy next season, or B, the proven players we've gone after in the last few years have not flopped, I guess he's trying to say.
Yeah,
which,
I think
again, absolutely spot on. But the first bid, next season, fine. But this squad isn't going to win the Premier League the season after either.
Can you put up that? Can you put up, Silke's last comment there?
This one.
That one. That is the point I've been trying to make people understand. Scouting isn't about finding the always complete players. Sometimes it's about finding players that you can coach to be more complete. And I do think Madueke and Mudryk fall under that category. Hence why we even said Nicolas Jackson falls under this category. Broha falls under this category. And I understand it's a new territory, but Chelsea have done this several times in the past before, even before the Roman era. So it's not that it's an impossible thing to do. It's people are just not used to this, and people want to be getting back.
Have you ever seen any club do it with this many players at once? I don't think I've ever seen that.
Not to this extent. I think we're doing it.
But doesn't that
we're
make
putting
it
a lot of investment into it?
Is it actually that much though, or is it just really the attack? Because if we have Caicedo and Enzo, none of those two need to develop. They're still really top players.
They need to develop, bro.
No, but
Enzo is world class and Caicedo is as well. So I don't think they need to be specifically coached. Madueke, I think bar finishing, he's a very, very good player. Mudryk definitely needs to be coached.
Yeah,
Mudryk definitely needs to be coached. Jackson or whoever the starter is needs to be coached. But if you look at the defense, Chilwell, James, established players, Badiashile, Colwell. I mean, could need a little bit of coaching, but Badiashile's been very good.
Most
Fofana, but there's not that many players that actually need to be coached. If you go through
what you said is it's all but four.
Huh?
No.
What you said is it's all players but four, maybe five if you're including Kunku. But we have a squad of 25. So all but
in the starting 11, there's not that much.
Good players. Okay, obviously take Thiago Silva out. So let's say 15. But still 15 players at once. I'm like, that's crazy difficult. Do you know what I mean?
No, but they don't all need to be coached to the same level in terms of they're not all going to get the same amount of game time. They're not all going to get the same development treatment. We understand that. So not all of them are going to make it. But let's be honest. If you're looking at the situation, we have done this thing where basically we spent as much as we did with Kai Havertz and then failed to develop further on that player. I'll rather take that risk on a Carney Chukwuemeka and say, yo, I've paid 20 million for this kid. I'll put the development time into him. And if I fail at this, I've only lost 20 million compared to what we were standing to lose out on Kai Havertz or other types of players.
Problem is,
luckily, Kai Havertz
in those 3 years that we give him won't win us the Champions League. And that's the difference in signing.
How do we know this?
Players off the step. How do I know that? Because none of our managers play him. That's why I know that. And because we're signing player after player after player in his position. That's why I know that.
But then if I could argue, like, even when we looked at the team that Lampard lined up with and when he first started managing us, and I didn't look at that team and think, oh, some of these kids are going to go on and win us the Champions League at some point soon. I didn't. And they did in a short period of time. 2 years later, we were like, what the hell? We've just won the Champions League with our Copam kids. I couldn't believe it, but it's possible. I do think managers and like the resources behind the scenes, everything just needs to complement each other better. And at our club, I think we've been used to doing half-assed jobs, doing things half-baked, and unfortunately we were getting half-baked results that are inconsistent. And instead of understanding why things were going wrong, we were just blaming the players, saying the players are shit.
I just hope consistency for us doesn't become fifth, bro. That's what I'm concerned about.
Oh, I agree. I don't want fifth, but I do
That's what I'm saying, because consistency is good.
Want us to compete. I want us to compete consistently, though. That's but
then you back signings like Jackson, which don't allow us to do that. That's what I don't understand.
But we need to build up to that. We can't just be like, yo, we're gonna switch on by.
How many times do we say this, bro? You know what, Chelsea? If Chelsea do shit, at the end of the day, if Chelsea do shit next season, Pochettino will be under pressure for his job. There's no point trying to spin around the circle and act like anything's going to change. It won't.
It depends.
I hear that, but we also can't compete for the league in one season, regardless.
Well, I'm not saying that, but if we finish 5th, 6th, or don't get Champions League football, or we lose every big game, no one's going to be happy. People are going to be calling for Poch's head at the end of the day. So, you know what I mean?
Because that's the thing.
Yeah,
I agree with Mo wholeheartedly, but realistically, if it coaching them all into good players is all well and good, but like I say, someone give me an example of any manager doing that with 10 players in the same season. Like, how long will it take to coach them into good players? Because
this sounds
more
like
than a season. How long? Like, they didn't give Potter. They didn't let Potter survive. They're not
exactly, Laurenz. This conversation we're having right now is the exact conversation we had when Graham Potter was employed as Chelsea manager.
Exactly.
And the only hope is that Pochettino is, 1, a better manager, 2, has more experience, 3, will actually ask for and can identify some stuff that we actually need and doesn't just, like throw in Andrey Santos into the squad instead of buying another midfielder because he has 2 or 3 good preseason games. That's the things I'm worried about. Like, it's on the club to identify as well what we actually need. And the profiles and the age that we're going for
they just did
ridiculous.
Too much at once because, in my opinion, when you make the squad as young as we are now doing, you need time to actually see what we need. Like when you have a bit of a proper, you have a squad and you're like, okay, here we have issues, then you know what you need to change. But if you have a whole squad of what ifs and let's wait and see how they develop, then you don't know in January or even next summer what do we need to do, because you've not given all these young players that you've signed time yet to see how good they're going to be and whether they are good enough to build on or whether they are good enough or not good enough and we need to replace them. And that's my concern, because in my mind, this whole process that we're now starting takes at least 2 years, and Chelsea will not give the process 2 years. So if it doesn't,
if it's catastrophic as last year, then absolutely, then it's not working. Something has to change. But I don't think we're going to be as catastrophic as we were last year. Last year was absolutely painful to witness. But could it have been predicted? 100%. I think if you looked at that Potter
I'm predicting it again now, not to the same level, but we're not gonna compete with Liverpool, Man United, and Arsenal. Realistically, does anyone really think we will? Really?
No, but why do we need to
I
just
don't
get
think
into
Man
top
United
four?
are that good at all, to be honest with
We
you.
just need to get
And
into top
still,
four.
they will be at least 2 spots ahead of us by the end of the league table. I'm not going to
we
say
just need
I
we
guarantee
need
it,
only
but I
top
just
four.
feel
Though.
like
That's
that
where
right now.
I'm confused about. Like all we need is top four. We are not going into this season with title contention.
Top
in
5
mind.
apparently.
Bro, do you know how hard top 4 is now? Have you
No,
seen the teams, bro?
So can
I
we
understand
clarify?
how hard
Do we
it
need
is,
top
and I'm
four,
not
do we
saying
need
it's
top
not
5?
hard.
Can we clarify whether we need top 4 or top 5 next season?
Top four
It's
is
not.
what I'm looking
It's
for.
decided. It's decided. Like in January or February. It's based off like how like a few of the English clubs do in the Europe. I think.
Okay, so it's not fully set in stone yet.
No,
at
it's
50
not
million.
set in stone until like after the new year. But Daily thinks we
Oh
won't
yeah,
get
the new
it.
Champions
Daily
League rules.
thinks it'll still
Sorry,
be top
I'm not
4.
even. I was trying to understand.
Yeah,
why
no,
you're
that's
not saying
why.
top
Mo, yeah. Champions League rules. Because, but maybe it's also maybe we will even get it regardless of where we finish because we've won it twice. I don't know how they're going to rule it.
Isn't it done on
UEFA.
like that thing though? What is it called? The coefficient stuff. Like I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
Like
the
there's
UEFA coefficient.
Yeah, isn't it done based on that in terms of what teams enter? Like I don't know, but the rules didn't seem as clear as I would like them to be. But I was like, this is not into play and for a little bit more time, so I kind of forgot about it. But to be honest, like I don't know. For me, maybe I've been so tired of the same cycle we were repeating for so long. To me, this feels refreshing. I understand 12th is not our aim. I don't want and I don't like last year. I hate it. It's absolutely disgusting. But if that was necessary for us to really look at the job and take it far more seriously for us to do better things in the long term, then I'm for it. Because what you said
I think we've done that though, bro.
What? Sorry?
Like you said, last season, if that had to happen for us to sort of learn our ways and do things differently, you'll take it. And so would have I, by the way. But this summer, like I think Caicedo's going to be a top signing. But if we go into the season with Jackson and we keep Kepa as number 1 and we have we buy like another young goalkeeper, right? Instead of buying a top class striker, 2 top class midfielders and a top class goalie, I don't think we've learned our lessons. I still feel like we're trying to go down this young youth model, trust the process model. I don't feel like they've learned in terms of what we like. They saw us crumble every time we went 1-0 down. Every away game, they saw us crumble. These 2 sporting directors were all these games, and yet they're still going for the same profiles and the same. It's like they're repeating the same issues. Like, how can you say buying £100 million striker like an Osimhen is the same issue? If anything, buying all these young players is the same issue because we saw what happened last season when we had all of them in the squad. So that's what I don't understand.
Last year, and when you looked at the experienced players that we went after in the summer, and a lot of the players that we went for were about experienced and proven players, we ended up not relying on those players. The January signings ended up being the things that we put all of our hopes into.
Yeah, no, you're right. At the end of the day, recruitment is important, whether it's experienced or young players, but that doesn't mean that just because you made a mistake with Koulibaly and Sterling, experienced players are shit. They're clearly not important.
No. I'm not saying that, bro.
Like,
what I'm saying is, I would like the squad as a whole to be looked at collectively, and we fix things collectively. I then would like to add players of Enzo Fernandez standards wherever the opportunity presents itself. I'm happy to see Nkunku join us. Maybe people don't really care about it, but I'm really happy with that type of signing because I can see that he's a player that looks far more capable.
Bro, he's the only one because he's 25.
No, exactly. But also, I just look at it from the perspective of, in terms of profile, he looks the most flexible and more ready to be able to fit into what we're trying to do with
so it
the
worries
current
me
manager.
that he's the only one we're signing. Why not 2 or 3 of him?
Because as you've seen the market, there's competition there. We can't sign everybody because at the end of the day,
that's why you shouldn't
even
sell everybody at once. That's the problem. Especially when you're not in Europe. You don't do a major squad clear out when you don't have the pull and the money and the wage possibilities to replace them adequately. That's my issue.
But I just think you guys are trying to build the whole squad all at once. Whereas for me,
the way
I'm
exactly
looking at
I want 2 or 3 key. I want a top class goalie. It's pretty simple, bro.
But that's what I'm saying.
You're saying all these shit players, essentially, those should have gone in June, and then signed replacements. And then once you have good replacements, then sell Mount, then sell Havertz, then sell Diesel, not beforehand, and then be screwed and get Gabriel Vega and tell me, he's going to get a
they
top four
wanted to
next
go.
season. No,
They wanted to go. Why are we keeping players that are not committed to what we're trying to do? It makes no sense. Kovacic wanted to go. Havertz wanted to go.
Bro,
Mount
we're doing that with Levi Colwill. He's saying he's only staying if he plays every game, essentially. We're doing that anyway.
No, but as long as, for me, the way I look at it is, right, I look at it is you do what you can based on the opportunities that are presented to you. Right now, as things currently stand, I'm looking at it from the perspective of our squad as a whole needed to be looked at, and we needed to make better decisions. From January onwards, since we got those people behind the scenes in, that's exactly what we've been doing, and it seems to align itself. Now, I understand we're not getting...
You can't sit there, Mo,
let me finish. Sorry, Laurenz. Let me just say this one final point. In terms of these experienced and proven players that you guys want, for me, they're the final piece of the puzzle. They're not the first piece of the puzzle that I signed, because we've already seen that. When we've signed them in the past, they have not worked out because we've had no foundations to make them.
So Mo, can I ask you a question?
Right now, I'm struggling to understand why we think that this is
can I ask you a question?
We've tried the other agendas.
Let me ask you a question, bro. Goalkeeper, yeah? Goalkeeper. We're going to sign a goalkeeper, right? Mm-hmm. Why is this club not going and spending big on Onana or Maignan and looking at another young goalkeeper when we have Gabriel Slonina there? Why is that happening? That's not...
Sorry, go ahead. Why are we looking at...
We're looking at the Shakhtar goalie, aren't we? Trubin or whatever his name is. We have Slonina. Why is that the case? Why aren't we going and fixing that issue? Why are we not going big on that area? That's not, they come later. No, that needs to be done now. Otherwise, that's another season where we don't have a big goalkeeper.
Kindergarten, bro. That's why.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't know how anyone backs this.
Because I think financially the club cannot do what we're asking them to do right
now. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
It looks like.
We just made £200 million in sales, bro. That's nonsense.
But it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to do the overhaul that they're thinking of in terms of what the financial...
No, they're trying to cheap out. That's what they're doing. They're trying to cheap out. They're trying to sign players at lower wages.
You can't even say they're trying to cheap out. We've spent $100 million on players under 20. Like, it's crazy because I think JP in the chat said earlier, spending doesn't always fix our problems. Exactly. But the problem is we are still spending crazy money. We're just spending it on 15, 18-year-olds instead of one great player. You know, that we're still spending stupid amount of money, like stupid money. 100 million on under 20-year-olds is crazy, right? So we're still spending insane money.
I think the problem is 18-year-olds. It's because a lot of the stuff really depends on long-term thinking. And because some of them don't address the immediate problems we have right now, people are upset at our long-term strategy. I am for long-term strategies as long as we can try and find a balance in between. To find the balance in between, the problem is we finished 12th. We've spent God knows how much money last season just to kind of justify us having to do the clear out we just did, for then to actually demand us spend that same kind of amount, because Victor Osimhen that we want alone is 150 million for what we're hearing. Just that one guy. I don't know, but maybe that makes me feel uneasy. I'd rather not take that risk. I'd rather you sign me 4 players if you can for that money.
The guy for me, it's like it's just a more collective issue, because Caicedo is great, but Caicedo is 21. People forget that he's had one great season. There's no guarantee he's going to be great again. He looks like he will be, but there's no guarantee. That's what happens when Michu, if you signed him after that one season at Swansea, you would have thought you're signing a world-class striker. Turns out the second season he wasn't a world-class striker. That can happen to Caicedo. It's unlikely, of course, and he's very likely to be an amazing player, but there's no guarantee for that. And he's also 21. At 21, even Messi wasn't perfect at 21. You're going to make mistakes at 21. This fan base is not ready for those mistakes. That's all I'm trying to say. Mo is ready for it. That's why Mo backs it. But not everyone is. And that's why that's what just gets me. And I didn't even want to go into this conversation at all. And now Lewis needs to leave in a minute. And we haven't even touched on the fucking scouting report. So let's go through this and figure out a bit more about Nicolas Jackson before we talk about other things, because we still have plenty of other things to talk about. Sorry to cut this in a way short now, but anyways. Let's read through it. Dubbed Senegal's Neymar for his dribbling wizardry. First red flag. So he was a winger, now he's a striker. Jackson was born in the Gambia, but plays for Senegal after signing for Real Madrid. Villarreal. He was loaned to Fernandez, played for the reserve team, helped get promoted, and made the first team with Unai Emery, an admirer of his talents. In January, he almost signed with Bournemouth, but his medical revealed his hamstring injury required a longer layoff and the move fell through. With Emery at Villa and others keen, Chelsea moved quick and paid slightly over the release clause. So why is Jackson so highly rated? Jackson can be best described as a wide forward, quite like Randall Colomuani. This radar from Chicago Dimitri illustrates how well-rounded he is with his output in most essentials showing a good technical base for coaches to mold into an all-round centre forward. So you can see he scores a lot of non-penalty goals. The one thing is he doesn't shoot a lot, which fits right in at Chelsea. No one shoots a lot here, but when he does shoot, he shoots very well. The accuracy is very good, and the goal scoring percentage is also very strong. Passing is pretty decent for a striker. 76% is not bad. Decent amount of assists, I guess. Here you're a bit more average, but everything's good. Like he's you can clearly see that he's not bad at anything specific. Obviously, guys, I need to always pause these videos. I can't show you them, otherwise I will have copyright issues. But just to continue a bit longer, Jackson's positioning is similar to what Luis Enrique demands from his centre forwards. They seldom play on the shoulder and stay a few yards short of the last line. This takes away the offside trap and allows Jackson greater flexibility in manipulating the last line, which I really like, by the way, because at Stamford Bridge, there's no space to get in behind. So a striker that doesn't want to do that all the time, amazing, in my opinion. And a big difference between him and Broja, in my opinion, because Broja does love a running behind. Now, sure, I'm sure he could be told, don't do it, but it still feels like his natural thing is to do that. His strengths, Jackson's standout strength is acceleration, agility, and speed. Able to explode off a standing start in either direction, he adjusts stride and length quickly and puts yards between him and markers over short and long distances. Another strength is movement, dropping deep. You need to remember to pause these. Jackson tends to drop deep consistently for multiple reasons. It allows him to receive away from his centre-back markers or to drag them away from the central area for Villarreal's wide forwards to exploit with runs. Dropping deep too, I guess. Jackson also drops deep to generate space for himself. Deeper positions allow him to link up, shift the ball wide, and attack the box with late runs. If no centre-back follows his run, it allows him to run at them, forcing fouls/chaos. But he also does run channels. His education as a winger also makes him a relentless channel runner, often runs wide to drag the centre-backs and disorient the back line, and is comfortable on either flank, had 62% plus take-on success, so poses a strong 1v1 threat too. Beyond the last line, Jackson's preferred run, so still does like to do that, is the space behind the last line, which he targets consistently because of his burst, usually waits for a centre-back to step up before targeting a run on the blind side in the space behind. Gravity, all right. Jackson's speed usually helps him command the attention of both centre-backs, who are usually very attentive to his movement. Villarreal use this to open up spaces for the attacking midfielders, wide attackers who would exploit spaces Jackson created, which is what I hope we can do if we use him. But for that, we also need Mudryk. Sterling, of course, is there, but Mudryk and Madueke and Sterling, we need those guys to also be clinical, because otherwise that whole idea is also pointless. Link-up play. Jackson's lanky frame, coupled with his ability to take deft touches with either foot, makes him a very good link-up reference. Drops deep consistently, lays off to runners, or plays quick interchanges with the wide players when he drifts to the flanks. We'll just stop it here for now, and I'll just get your guys' thoughts, because I know you need to head off in a minute, Lewis, as well. Lewis, we've spoken through a few things now. He likes to drop deep, but he also likes to make his runs. And it's still the most off-putting thing is the whole thing that he was a winger and now he's turning into a striker. I said this on the last stream already. You weren't obviously here, Lewis, but I said at the time, that's just another player we are turning into a striker. He isn't a striker yet, and the fan base isn't going to be ready for that process to still be happening, unfortunately. But in general, I quite like that he's so versatile. The only thing that only time will tell is if he is a jack of all trades and a master of none, or if he's also a master of some of those things. Or do you just see it as a positive that he seems to be good at various different things that a centre forward needs to do and can do? So he's like adaptable to some opponents. Against some opponents, we need to do this. Against some, we need to do that. How do you look at a player having many strengths?
I think it's a positive. Just have to see what he's like on the Chelsea pitch. I haven't seen enough of him at Chelsea to fully judge him just yet. But off of everything I've seen, it looks impressive. If he looks as good on the pitch as he does in those comps, brilliant. It looks like we've got a very well-rounded player. But until I see him in the Premier League, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. Right now, see what happens. But I like the look of the player. I really do.
Fair dues. You just let me know when you need to leave, Lewis.
I do have to bounce. But guys, big up anyway. Take care. It has been real. Have a good weekend.
Hey,
Big
we'll
up,
chat to you
Lewis.
soon, bro, Lewis. Everyone stick around. We're still going to go through the analysis of Nicolas Jackson and talk about Ziyech and Azpi as well, of course. I'll just continue with this and then get Pisces and most thoughts involved. Defensive industry. And number 9 with a winger's work rate. Jackson offers very good defensive work, chasing down loose balls, pressing centre-backs and goalkeepers, plus dropping deep to track runners. His speed also makes him a useful counter-pressing unit, which does make sense, I suppose. Things he can improve on. Hold-up play. Shows lovely glimpses of back-to-goal play. Deceptive strength, good unopposed first touch, good balance make him a nice reference point. But to touch under pressure, control with underside of the boot, for example, could be issues against Premier League defenders. And that's like Tammy Abraham has perfectly fine hold-up play if there's no centre-back charging into his back. That's when it's difficult. Having Premier League centre-back charging elbow and knee first into your back and you still being able to control the ball and hold it up. That's the difficult part. And that's the part that players that come from any league, maybe the French league, because the French league is very physical, they're a bit more used to it. But from any other league, Italy, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Germany, they're not used to that. So only time will tell how good or how not good he is at that, or how quickly he's be able to adapt to it, I guess. Shooting finishing is unfortunately another point that he can improve on, which is a bit unfortunate. But anyway, can shoot well with either foot. Small sample size shows wildly contrasting sides. Shots on target of 50% plus, conversion rate of 30% this season puts him in elite company. But low shot volume, 2.3 per 90, plus 3 goals in his first 18 league games are concerning. Well, we're not going to watch all of that, but here's a collection of almost all his shots this season on YouTube, illustrating a mixed bag. Can be wayward in with his decision of when to shoot, placement over power, prefers low shots, only 5 out of 40 plus shots this season from outside the box, which is fine. The striker isn't the one that's supposed to shoot from outside the box. That's no problem. What his weaknesses are, aerials. Shows glimpses of decent heading, but often does not leap or compete well enough. Already major concern again for me. Win percentage of 30.2% this season in La Liga is abysmal, and that's in La Liga, mind you. Not aggressive on corners. Villarreal had the second least crosses delivered, crosses completed into the box. Obviously, I didn't watch Villarreal, so I can't tell you whether that's down to the bad crosses or down to the bad just, taking those crosses as the forward. But still a little bit concerning. Another weakness, box movement, can be frustrating with this lack of awareness/tools to be a potent poaching threat. Monodimensional runs seldom adapt positioning or movement to lose markers, and near post runs are rare. Seems like a winger learning the 9 role. Again, a bit concerning. At 22, can improve, of course. Absolutely, can improve. But if we go into the season with him as the main guy and returning from injury, Broja, them two as the main guys, that's going to be a problem. And that already screams the goal issues are not going to be solved next season, to me. Anyway, lack of area threat is another weakness of his. Near post runs, often see him prefer movement positioning towards the far post, where he escapes attention and can pounce on rebounds. Parries would benefit from learning how to be a central focal point with more tools at his disposal, which of course can drastically change. We will have better players at Chelsea than at Villarreal, so those weaknesses might not look as drastic, but we'll have to wait and see. Positional instinct is also not one of his strong points, apparently. Still learning the centre-forward roles, or can often make odd decisions. Guilty of always looking to come short rather than attack the last line aggressively. Does basics right, but does not break his neck to attack the box like a proper 9. Again, sounds like a lot of what we've had for years, I'll be honest. Tactical setup of Villarreal, though. Jackson was recently used as a number 9 in the 4-2-3-1, which I guess that's good, because that's most likely what we're going to use. With inside forwards, Yermi Pino and Samuel Chukwueze, both clever dribblers and direct threats. Jackson was given freedom to drop/drift, to link up with wide attackers and vacate the box for runners, which is good if we have runners. So Nkunku could be the saviour, but puts a lot of pressure on Nkunku as well. Pochettino's 4-3-1 had some similarities. The centre-forward Kane often dropped deep to link up play or find advanced runners. Attackers stayed close together for quicker interchanges and effective counter-pressing. If Poch does the same with Chelsea, Jackson is a great fit, which I guess that is a positive again. But if he then doesn't take the chances like Kane, it won't look like Kane now, will it? At Chelsea, Mudryk/Pino and Chukwueze/Madueke offer similar stylistic fits of inside forwards who love running at defences, have great take-on efficiency, and offer strong shooting threat. And Nkunku at number 10 worked best with the centre-forward reference, who allowed him to attack the box from deeper, which is true. But we've just learned that his aerial ability and hold-up play with pressure is something that he struggles with. So how good is that going to work with Nkunku, I guess? Jackson also ticks a lot of boxes from a profile standpoint of a Poch centre-forward. He is young, drops, drifts wide, is a strong channel runner, counter presses well, and has significant room to grow. Potter's record of developing young forwards physically, mentally, and technically is solid. Jackson, for £35 million, fits Chelsea's new blueprint of calculated gambles on young talent, with players like Osimhen, Kane, Kolomwani, all valued at above 100 million. Well, I certainly much prefer us getting Jackson to Kolomwani, price value wise. That's for sure. Chelsea are perhaps gambling on one of the highly rated trio of Broja, Datro, Fofana. Well, it's not going to be Fofana, and Jackson to come good. So shout out CFC Central, by the way, for this thread. Obviously, I didn't watch him and make analysis like, CFC Central did, so I can't sit here and say, is it true or is it wrong? But it sounded interesting. Some good strength, but also some weaknesses which do worry me a little bit. Pys, where do you stand on all of this after reading through this?
Basically, what I've said all along. Don't think he should be our starting striker next season. I think he should be the backup. But then that would be unfair on Broja. So I don't really understand the signing or what we're doing, to be honest. You either keep him as backup and get rid of Broja, which would be unfair, or you just don't sign him at all, and we have. So, I think in terms of his strengths, I think there could be some good things, like his hold-up play seems very good. His runs in behind seem very, very good. And obviously he's quick and he likes to link up. But at the end of the day,
sorry, Pys, to interrupt you. Doesn't he just seem like Tammy Abraham to you? To me, it does.
No, because I think he's much more stronger and better hold up than Tammy was. But in terms of Tammy's more
in the Prem, Tammy's hold up players looked amazing in Serie A.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you though in terms of the La Liga not being a physical league. I think it's a very physical league.
Is it?
Yeah. They killed Hazard, bro, when he went over there.
Because he got killed here and then went over there without training.
No, I watched a lot of their games there. So some of them lower sides are dirty as hell. Like honestly,
dirty, I agree, but not physical as in strong. I'm not saying they're not going to attack. Of course they are, but they're not. You don't have a lot of Van Dijks running around La Liga, is what I'm trying to say.
No, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm not too concerned on that point, but yeah, he's just raw. Like it's almost like it's just another project, isn't it? Like I don't know, man. It's just a weird one for me. What is interesting though is like for the whole like winger / striker thing, like for him to be, or like how CFC Central said, like seems like a winger developing into a striker. A lot of wingers don't like, dropping deep and ball to feet. They like to go in behind and running behind and stuff like that. So the fact that Jackson does almost the opposite of that, and he's like more like a Harry Kane where he drop deep, pick up the ball and that sort of thing, doesn't like, making loads of runs into the box as well. It's not really winger trade. So I'm a bit, I don't know. He seems a bit of an interesting player, I guess, but we'll just have to see what happens, to be fair.
There you go. The problem is people talk about Vlahovic. Vlahovic is no more realistically proven than Jackson is. A tad more, sure. But he's just had a longer good season at Fiorentina. What he's done this season at Juventus, other than those 2 direct free kicks he scored, was extremely underwhelming in every sense of the word. Touch was poor, finishing was poor, heading was poor, strength was poor. There wasn't much great that Vlahovic did at Juve this season, and you can ask any Juve fan and they will tell you that. Now, sure, maybe some of your analysts and fancy Twitter nerds that love their stats, sure, they will find some good things about Vlahovic at Juve. But if you ask Juve fans, they are not happy. They are not happy with him whatsoever. And that if Juve fans aren't happy with you, and Juve fans aren't happy with the same players that we tend to be happy with, they like Morata. Just saying, they like Morata and they don't like Vlahovic. And you want to sign Vlahovic? Are you sure? Really? I'm just saying. But that's my problem, right? Because. So I'm somewhere stuck, and I'll get to you now, Mo, and you can say your piece as well. Because I'm somewhere stuck between where Pys is and where I think you are. Because on the one hand, I completely agree with Pys. I'm like, is Jackson good enough to go into the season as our main striker? I personally don't think so. So what's the point in signing him? Because then Broja can kind of be what Jackson, in my opinion, should be, where he's like that striker that can turn into something great, but should he start for us regularly now, right? Then you already have that in Broja. Sure, coming from an injury, I understand that. But if you have Jackson, and then you still sign someone else, then that means you gave Broja a 6-year contract a year ago, then he got injured, and then you never gave him a chance again. And that I wouldn't like. I wouldn't be a fan of that. So that's why I'm like, either Jackson is a very risky, in my opinion, first choice striker signing, or he's a very unnecessary backup striker signing. And he's, for me, one of those two. That doesn't mean he can't become good. Of course he can. But still, as of where our squad is right now, there are so many positions in our team. What I'm happy with a signing like this. I'm happy with Madueke. He's kind of a signing a bit like Jackson in terms of reasonable fee, a lot of talent, but we still need to see what they can actually make out of that. Or maybe like a Gusto, absolutely. But up front, when you already have Broja, who's kind of that's what I worry about a little bit. Do you see where I'm coming from with that, Mo? But also, after we've read through the scouting report, where do you sit on that? And where do you sit on what Pi said in terms of, like I say, either too, or like I said two now, either too risky of a starting striker or an unnecessary backup striker? Do you see that?
And I understand exactly where both of your points come from. I think that's a fair statement to make. Personally, I'm just looking at the market, and looking at the market, it looks like if you want a top striker, you're going to have to overspend, and it's going to be at least 100 million that you'd be willing to spend to get a good striker. And even that, for me, still feels like a gamble because we don't know how well these strikers suit to the Premier League as well. Some of these strikers we've been linked with, your Kolomoanis, the Victor Osimhen's, and I believe there's another player, Lautaro Martinez, who Pochettino's pushing and very hardcore for. I'm like, I don't understand what we could really do here. I think the next best step that Chelsea has decided to take here is look at the next upcoming strikers that fit a profile that they're looking for and said, we'd rather take this type of risk. Now, I understand from the perspective of, are these the types of players that are going to go win us the Champions League? We don't know. But right now, as things stand, I think you can statistically look at them and say, probably not. From that perspective, I'm not here to disagree with those people because stats-wise, they're not that impressive. But profile-wise, I like what I'm seeing because for once, we haven't overspent. We've gone after someone based on profile and traits that we were looking for, and we've signed him for a manager that looks to be playing in a certain way that helps that type of traits to stand out, and a manager that I believe coaching is something that really gets the best out of him. In terms of Pochettino, one of the biggest things I've always said about him is I like the fact that he's a good coach. He's signed young players before. He's been around young players before, and he's managed to get a lot out of them. Danny Rose, Kyle Walker, Dele Alli, all of these players that were at Spurs that we didn't really think much of beforehand came under him, and he managed to do what he did. I think that's totally something he could replicate with us. If he does this with either Bro or Jackson,
he had a few experienced players alongside that.
He also had more time.
Yeah.
Also, more time, Spurs fans, they accept less than what we accept. Poch has to do this very fast. And the only good thing is, Poch actually, for this season, obviously, he's got a whole week each game. That's the only good thing in terms of coaching and delivering. But, year two, which obviously, unless something goes drastically wrong, we'll be getting into the second year of his contract. That's when really he'll be properly tested, I think, because then he'll face the brutal schedule that every other Chelsea manager has had to.
If the first season goes well enough,
yeah. I get it, man. Like, I'm not going to be sat here telling you guys that what we're trying to do is not a risk. It is a risk, but it feels like a better calculated risk compared to what we were doing before. And I understand people will hear what I'm saying and they'll think I'm saying I don't want to win trophies. I do. I want to win them consistently. I want to be able to say Chelsea will be there to win at least 4 trophies every year. I don't give a shit. Like, that's what I want for my club. But to be there, you have to actually set yourself up to get that type of success. I generally do believe we've half-assed it for a long time. And I can't remember the last time we've done a proper rebuild and have actually given things a lot more thought. This feels like new territory to us because at the end of the day, we've been used to getting established players and going on to win stuff. Hence why I understand people getting cold feet over this. Personally, I'm just glad to see something refreshing and different that looks like it's taking care of two things at once.
You said it yourself there, bro. You said it yourself there, though. We had established players and we won stuff. It's okay doing this, buying young players, but you have to throw a little bit of a mix in there. You have to identify.
I think they want to know.
All the players you have already.
Enzo Fernandez and Nkuku, for me, are those types of players. They're more established. They're players that you can have high expectation on.
Enzo wasn't established at all. He's just a brilliant player. We just
No,
got
but that's what
lucky.
I'm saying. It's like he's more proven in terms of like you see him play. Do I look at that player and think to myself, "Oh my God, we have to put a lot of development time over him"? No,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
think that.
I'm still
With
looking for
Sterling,
those. I'm still looking for those voices in the dressing room, like City have with Rodri and Diaz and Walker. I'm still looking for those guys in our squad. Who have we got
yeah,
that's going to do that in a big game? No one.
I look forward to seeing that. I want us to kind of develop those players ourselves and maybe even identify those players ourselves. We don't have to spend 100 million to make us see those types of players, though. That's where I'm at. I think we can spend calculated and still get those types of players. It's just going to require more effort on our part to convince those types of players.
See, I do agree that, and that's part of the issue, obviously, that the striker market is the way it is right now. Right, like if you want an Osimhen, it's going to cost you 120 million upwards. If you want a Kane, you can't beat Chelsea. If you want, and then who is that? Even Kolumwani, who is good but not amazing, costs you apparently 100 million. So then, what do you do in a striker market? So from that perspective, I understand it, but from that perspective, it's just another reason why the whole Lukaku signing was such a debacle, because he's literally put us in a position where we still have £100 million striker officially part of our squad that we can't use, that we can't sell, but we need a striker, even though we have one there, but he's a dickhead, so we can't use him. So, it's like they're literally the worst signing in history ever. But
yeah, can I just say
that's where the
thing
problem
as well?
comes from. Like, that's where it stems from, right? First of all, that we're not in the Champions League, so that's what makes it more difficult to get the top strikers. But even if we could get the top strikers, they're all so crazy expensive that it's difficult to buy them in a summer where you need to fill a whole squad because you're selling a whole squad. So that's where, to some extent, it's unfortunate timing. To some extent, a major squad clear out will always require major signings. And if you want to do many signings at once, it's difficult to have too many of those be very expensive. And then what level of quality are you going to get? And that's why it's a difficult situation to be in, a situation that partly the old ownership put us in, where this many players needed to be gotten rid of. Absolutely. But fact of the matter is still that it's going to be difficult for Chelsea to be where Chelsea were the last 10, 15, 20 years very soon again. Now, we can all hope that. But if we're being realistic, in my opinion, it will take 4 years minimum, 3. And then in the next 2 years, we're probably going to start building a new stadium and then have to play away from Stamford Bridge. So chances are we're probably only going to be back to being realistically fighting for the big trophies every year once we have a new stadium. And that's what Arsenal fans told themselves. And then they realized, actually, we can't sign any big players because we need to pay off our stadium. So let's hope we don't need to do that as well. And be able to to offer high wages, because we're not going to keep Enzo. We're not going to keep Caicedo. We're not going to keep Mudryk. We're not going to keep Fofana and Kobo and all these top players once they're 25, 26, if we're never willing to give them big wages. It's not going to happen. They will force moves out. So I just have to hope that the owners do it right. And in this first year, they haven't given me too much hope. But, there's still a little bit of hope left, I suppose. But yeah, Mo, Pys, is there anything else you wanted to touch on in terms of... I mean, Pys, let me actually ask you this. Do you see that point in terms of, the top strikers are, first of all, a bit difficult to get when you're not in the Champions League, but also so ridiculously expensive that they're kind of difficult to get. And I guess if you don't get those, then Jackson doesn't look that bad.
Honestly, I do see a point, but
you
don't. No, I just feel like if we can't get an Osimhen or Vlahovic or basically those two, then we go for someone experienced or in the Premier League already, just to tie us over for a season until we can go for that big striker in the summer. So that's what I would do. Try and identify someone that can, it almost like rotate with Jackson, but like kind of be that guy as well, up front, like we used to have with Giroud, right? When Giroud used to start for us, no one really cared, right? He was a good player, but Giroud was also perfect because he was really good off the bench. So,
and he was old, so he didn't.
We need to find someone like that, but that's not the route.
Make way more sense.
Yeah, exactly. But they're not doing that. They don't care about that, seemingly, which is why
people say, age doesn't matter. No, to these owners, it does. If you're born anything before 1998, you are old.
Exactly. This is what pisses me off so much, because it doesn't look like they're even considering that.
No, don't put words
Oh
into
my
people's
God.
mouths, Francis. Pice isn't saying he wants Mitrovic, but if you're not going to get...
I'll take Mitrovic all day long, to be
Yeah,
honest.
you would, but you wouldn't necessarily take him over Kane and...
Oh,
Osimhen.
no.
But if
No,
you can't
I'll-
get Kane, Osimhen, these types of players, then the Mitrovic, to me, would make way more sense. He's a bit older. That means he can make a stopgap option until you're back in the Champions League, until you don't need to sign 17 players in a window, but 3, and then you can spend 120 million on a striker.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why he would be a stopgap. But Simon makes a fair point. Mitrovic would also be expensive. Of course he would, because Fulham asked 90 million for Paulinho. So, but yeah. But Mo, anything you want to touch on there before we move on?
I think for me the biggest thing is, right, I do think there's a perfect balance to be met somewhere, but I do think the first step is to do what we're doing. And I know people are just not going to like it, and that's fair. Like, at the end of the day, people want to see us competing as soon as freaking possible. And I would like that too, but it seems like it's not a doable thing to just do it that way. Hence why I'm willing to sacrifice in the medium short term if it means that you can guarantee me in the long term I don't have to worry the way I have done for the last few years. Because the last few years, every time the season started and people have asked me my expectations, I'm like, I don't know what version of my club is going to show up this season. And I got tired of saying that to people. I don't know what version. And at the end of the day, right now, as things currently stand, we finished 12th last year, which means this is something that is necessary for us to address, but we need to address it still as people that have a plan, not as people that are panicking and are just doing whatever is possible to fix the problem with money. I still think we need to go for top targets. I agree with Max on that one, but it needs to be specific type of target. Like your Enzo Fernandez was a fantastic get. I fully agreed with that. And it's crazy money that's being spent on that guy, by the way. But I still agreed with it because I knew what version of a player we were getting and what he does for our midfield.
I mean, does it even look that, like, I know Rice is a top player as well, but it doesn't look that bad now because Rice is 105. Like, at least we're not the only club that's done it, you know?
Exactly why I'm saying even Caicedo, bro. Like, literally, people are saying right now he's had 1 year. Why are we spending this crazy money? I'm like, I'm sorry for the quality I'm seeing right now in the market. Everyone else that I'm looking at, I have to develop them to get to a good point. Whereas this guy, right now, he's shown me in the Premier League in 1 year at Brighton Football Club, he made it look fucking easy. This, to me, is like, yo, spend that money, go get him. Because I know he improves our midfield. Plus, we've put ourselves in a...
Kante didn't have many seasons before we signed him.
Exactly that, bro. And even when you think about Mahrez wasn't a player that was banging it in top leagues for ages before he became the player that we saw. He literally needed 1 season at freaking Leicester in the Premier League, and next thing you know, Man City bought him for as much as they did. Again, I still think we need to do those types of things, but it needs to be balanced with the other side of the game where we take more calculated risk, which is why I'm happy with stuff like this. Am I happy with Kepa in goal? Let me make this perfectly clear. Hell no. I'd rather go sign a goalkeeper right now. But I understand if the club thinks that there are other priorities that go beforehand and we can do with Kepa for 1 more year at least. Okay, fair enough. I'll take that L for today. But if the season collapses because of Kepa, I will hold the club accountable for it because it has to be. It's a calculated risk that we took that we failed on again. And we can't. I would rather sign Onana. I would sign rather Minion. Any one of those 2 goalkeepers, I would be like, it's a massive upgrade. I don't have to worry about the goalkeeper. But right now, as things stand, we have not enough midfielders. That takes priority now. So I'm like, I'll deal with Kepa for 1 year. That's fine.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that as well. The problem is that striker, we didn't really have that option because we had Aubameyang and Havertz.
The striker's race is a whole madness, man. Like, it's just the players are too expensive in it.
Again, which is why Lukaku is such a problem. Pice, just quickly, I'll respond to Jonas here. He says, Ryan Cherky, is there any news? There's been some not particularly reliable news, but there's not been anything reliable yet, has there?
No, I think Chelsea fans are trying to manifest this like they did with Enzo and stuff. But
isn't he a number 10?
Yeah, he is. Basically,
you want to sign an expensive backup to Nkunku. Great idea.
Well,
because we have so much money.
To be fair, I think he'd only be like 30, 40 mil. But also, he's 19. But the people that love him, he's got some like ridiculous skill.
It's just a new hour, let's be honest. He will go to some shit team in 5 years. Let's be honest.
I don't know. I think some top club will get him, but I don't think it does. He's a very talented player, but yeah. I don't think. I wouldn't be surprised if the club have watched him though, obviously, because I know that the scouts are obviously at the was it the under-21 World Cup or whatever it is, and yeah, there's got a lot of players there. So under-20, under-21. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we looked in, but there's no like credible links at the moment.
Max, I've got another one for you. And
Go on,
Florian Wirtz from Bayer
Wirtz,
Leverkusen.
Well,
Yeah,
Alex
that's
Goldberg mentioned them, so we'll see.
That one,
I mean, I would love it,
me, man.
but I guarantee our fan base would hate him because he's just Kai Havertz 2.0. So
We can't win.
no, you can't. This fan base ruins everything. So it is what it is.
We can't win, man.
No, absolutely. But on another note, Cesar Azpilicueta to Atletico Madrid is a here we go, as Chelsea are letting him leave as a free agent as a show of respect, which I do like from Chelsea. Like we touched on at the very beginning of the stream, he needed to leave for a long time. It's finally happening, but obviously that doesn't take anything away from the man. He's won every single trophy available to him. Not even John Terry has managed to do that because John Terry didn't win a Club World Cup. What a legend he is. What a true servant of the club he is and has been. I hope he gets a picture outside the wall, like on the wall outside Stamford Bridge. He needs to, because if he doesn't, who the fuck does in the next 15, 20 years? And like Simon G said in the chat, I'm glad he isn't going Inter and he's going to Atletico instead. I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, well done to Chelsea for not being dickheads about it and like, oh, we want a transfer fee. Just let it happen. You shouldn't have given him a 2-year contract last year in the first place. But yeah, so Azpi, thank you for everything. Thank you for being a captain for so long, even though I would have wished for a better captain at times, I must say. But yeah, all the best to him. I'm sure he will come back in some capacity one day to the club. I absolutely am sure of it. Like Pice told us, he is building a house very close to Cobham. So he's probably going to end up living there after. At the same time, he's from Spain, so maybe moving to Madrid changes his whole mind. Who knows? But I very much think Azpi will come back to Chelsea in some capacity one day. Mo, quick little thing on Azpi.
Hey, man. For me, he leaves a legend. I can't lie. I respect him a lot. I think what I've liked about him is just that he's just been a good servant for us, man. He's someone we've signed for cheap. He's someone that's played in several different positions for us. Never really complains. Always tries his best from what I at least see. But it's been coming for a long time for him to leave. I am just happy that he gets to go to Spain and live out a final part of his career there. And yeah, man, good luck to him. Thank you for everything.
There you go. Pice, you a quick little thing on Azpi too?
Yeah, a legend of the club. Thought he was going to leave, to be honest, from what I was told. It was definitely the plan, but stay. But yeah, he's ended up leaving. And yeah, I think it makes sense for him, to be honest. Going back to Spain, I was a bit surprised over like the Inter Milan rumors, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be back very soon. And yeah, like you guys said, I think needed to go for a long time. Well and truly past it in terms of Premier League, but yeah, I still think he did okay at times last season. To be fair, so he's definitely still got another season in football wise, but. In terms of Chelsea, I think right time to depart. But again, it's another experienced player we're letting go. So I'd be interested to see what we do.
Absolutely. Shout out to Wing for the super chat. He says, I'm happy Mount and Kai are out. 2 mid to be our mains, which is true, but Kai might be replaced.
That's very good.
It is good, to be honest. But Kai's getting replaced by Nicolas Jackson. So yeah. I mean,
Nicolas
again,
Jackson,
he might sign
it's over
someone
to you,
else
my guy.
He might be Mo, but can you sit there right now and say Nicolas Jackson is better than Kai Havertz? Lewis would say it, but anyone
that's not coming out of my mouth. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just gonna let Jackson do his thing. Hopefully, he proves us right.
Jackson. That's what I'm saying. People need to be careful what they wish for, but hey, it is what it is. Someone said yes. All right, I'm sure you've seen Nicolas Jackson a lot. Biggest, in my opinion, and craziest news that we got yesterday: Hakim Ziyech failed his medical with Al Nassr. He then underwent more tests in Madrid, which flagged a knee and hip problem. Al Nassr were offering to still buy him, but with a 40% base wage decrease. And Ziyech does not accept that. The deal is off as of now. Oh my days. Can we ever get rid of you? What the fuck is wrong with you? What did you do for the last year? You never played. How can you have medical issues? What is wrong with you, man? Oh, my days. I am outraged at this, Donny. Just, what do you mean you're not accepting a 40% wage cut? You should be kissing their feet for the fact that they want to sign you, even though you're clearly a walking injury stick. Like, what is wrong with you? Saying no to 40% less base wages. Fuck off. What is this? He is pissing me right off. Like, where are we going to get him rid to now? Ajax don't want him. No one else in the Eredivisie can afford him. So what's going to happen? Oh my days. I'm fuming. Do you know what I mean? Pice, is anyone going to sign him now? Or are we going to get stuck with that guy? Do we have to terminate the contract like Azpi? And people were saying with the Saudis, and now we can't even get Hakim Ziyech there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was also rumours that it was to do with documents and wages as well. So, you know, I mean, I don't know how you can flag knee and hip problems when he's hardly played or whatever, but, you know, I think something will still get done.
In the shower, I guess, but
I still think something will get done with him. I'm sure he'll leave. You know, he's not going to stay here at the end of the day. And if we have to terminate his contract, then, you know, bye-bye. Let's do it. Let's be ruthless.
What question have I missed from the Blue Lounge? Where's the question? All right, I'm going to address it. Not sure if you addressed this already. Thoughts on the large number of kids being signed by us? Okay, we discussed this last stream. Sorry, bro. Are we looking for long-term and ignoring the present, or is a balance being struck? No, we are definitely ignoring the present and looking for the long-term. Absolutely. Look at the signings, man. It's Enzo and Caicedo. Everyone else is a bit... Do you know what I mean? And we don't even have Caicedo yet. Do you know what I mean? Let me not jump ship too soon. But yeah, I mean, I hope Pice is right and we get rid of Ziyech to somewhere at some point. But Mo, your reaction when you saw this yesterday, I mean, what? Like Lewis said earlier, he's a proper boomerang, he is. Like, how is this happening?
I don't understand. I've never seen a player just have so much bad luck trying to leave a club. Like, what the hell? In the space of 6 months, this guy's had 2 failed transfer dealings, and I don't know how it's happened. The first one, apparently because paperwork and all that madness. This second one, for me, pisses me off because as soon as I heard injury problems, I said, for God's sake, he doesn't even play for us. Who did he get injured at? When did this happen? Why is this the reason out of all the reasons? And I'm like, the worst part for it is this puts other clubs off. That's why I'm even more angry. I'm like, he's going to stay here, guys. It's looking like he's going to stay here. He's going to have to run down his contract and leave on a free transfer unless we grant him the same thing as Azpi, bro, because I don't understand how this has become an issue. Oh, man, I want to feel sorry for him, but I can't even feel sorry for him. We need him to go because at the end of the day, the clear out needs to be completed and it needs to be completed properly. If we've lost all these other players, some of which we respect, right? And some of that we didn't really have a problem with. I'm sorry for Hakim Ziyech to stay out of all of this. People are not going to let this one go, man. And personally, for me, I don't understand, man. I can't believe it's an injury problem. That's what's shocking about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Please, Chelsea, find some sort of way to get rid of him, even if we have to terminate the contract. Because this ain't it. This ain't it at all. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, still subscribe if you haven't already and hit that like button. Honestly, every new subscriber counts. So if you're not yet, please do subscribe. That would be massively appreciated. Another one, we'll keep this one a bit shorter because it's not really the biggest news. It's kind of just like the big journalist kind of making something out of not a lot. So yesterday, Nizar Kinsella reported, I think it was Nizar, that we made our first concrete long-term contract offer to Levi Colwill, but he wants to talk to Pochettino first because he wants to be an important player, have to some extent guaranteed game time and feel important. Otherwise, he would be preferred to move. So essentially, Pice, doesn't that mean there is no news? Because he's not back from the under-21s Euros yet. The only question is, again, Mr. Winstanley, why did you make an offer now and not after he comes back from the Euros? But do I really have to question Paul Winstanley anymore? I know already he's a clown, so.
Yeah, there's not much news here, to be honest with you. Colwell's, entitled with how good he is to somewhat demand, a certain level of game time. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is overblown as well. Like, I think as long as he's not sitting on the bench every single game, then he's going to be happy to stay, in my opinion. So, feel like an important player doesn't mean you start every game. It just means you're like one of the main members of the squad, which he will be. And the thing is that Chelsea keeps saying he's absolutely not for sale. We've already rejected bids, so he ain't going to go anywhere. If we sold him, it would be like ridiculous money anyway. So I'm not too fussed on this. I think he'll sign a new deal once he speaks to Poch in pre-season.
Hopefully, otherwise we can sack Poch straight away again. But yeah, Mo, I don't. I'm not even going to get your thoughts on this because there isn't really anything to it. Like literally,
There's
we're
nothing.
just
There's
waiting until
nothing
he's back
here,
from
man.
under 21. Yeah, there you go. But the next one I do want to talk about, which I find rather interesting, is you know what? Let's finish off the Chelsea stuff first before we get into the other things. So Chelsea announced two signings today. We signed number one, Diego Moreira from Benfica, under 21 international. He's mainly played for Benfica's under 21 or B side, whatever. He's also played for the first team, but not that regularly. So that's one of them. And we've also signed from Norwich, what's his face? Alex Matos, who's 18, who's obviously joining the academy. But what I want to highlight on, rather than making too big of a deal out of these two guys, they're both joining on a free, by the way, so this isn't a big deal for anyone. This here, it's July 1st. Pice, you tweeted it last night. The sponsorship deal with 3 ended last night at midnight. All the other, if I don't have that ready now, but I would have seen it on Twitter, that yesterday there were still more sponsors here. So some other sponsors whose contracts had expired have been removed from the website as soon as basically the deals expired. But 3 was not removed. And also, it's July 1st. Today should be the day where we get the new sponsor. But we don't have a new sponsor. And this, Alex Matos, this was posted today, 14 hours ago. This was posted today on July 1st. So officially, we don't have a contract with 3 anymore. Now, I know some people are saying you're reading too much into it. I'm well aware that these pictures were obviously not taken today. But that's not the point. Point is that we don't have a contract with 3 anymore, for they are basically not paying us anymore, officially. But we released a picture with their logo on our shirt, giving them free promotion without them paying us on July 1st, after the deal had expired. This is not normal. This is not normal. Like people say, oh, you're making too big of a deal, or who cares? This is a big deal. Like Pice, you were saying, I'm not going to say what else you've been told, but what the 3 stuff, all the 3 sponsorship stuff is still up around Stamford Bridge. It's still all up there. So when you go back to when we lost Samsung and went to Yokohama, a few days before June 30th, they were taking down all the banners, all the sponsorship stuff for when July 1st hit. All the new sponsorship was ready. And the same thing happened. We went from Yokohama to 3. But now it's not happening. So what on earth is happening? I even have one more thing for you. If you click the 3 button here, right? Click the 3 button here, and I'll show you the next thing. There's still, on the 3 website, a Chelsea thing. This is not an expired sponsorship. I think, and I don't know how, and I don't know why, and I don't know how much they're paying us, but I think we're going to have 3 as the sponsor for another season. Because otherwise, this would be insane to be doing this. And now the question is 3, and I don't know how much they will, if at all, they're paying us for this extra year. I have no idea. But now I guess the question becomes is, yes, they are better than Steak, but obviously they also threw us absolutely under the bus when we were sanctioned. So they are also shit, and I want to get rid of them. But it's still arguably better than a betting sponsor. So I don't know what I really feel now. Would I prefer 3 for another year? Would I prefer Steak for another year? For 1 year? I guess it depends on how much they're each paying. I don't know. Fact of the matter is, Chelsea just do not know what they're doing with the sponsors. And the most hilarious thing is that this ownership has literally made like statements, public statements, where they basically slagged off the old ownership in terms of the work they've done on a business point of view. And now you've been here for a year. You've taken us from the Champions League to 12th. You've sold all of our valuable players, given every player that we have a cheap-ass contract, and now you can't even get a sponsor. I am baffled. I understand getting signings wrong. Your Aubameyangs, your Koulibalys, Sterling maybe, depends on how he does this season, of course. Here's even Koulibaly and Sterling and Jess Carter. All 3 of these have left, I think. Hasn't Jess Carter also left the women's team now? Oh, my days. Regardless of that, I can understand them getting it wrong in the football sense. I can even maybe understand them getting it wrong in hiring the wrong people like Paul Winstanley. But not getting a sponsor, really. This is the only thing you're supposed to be good at. You're American businessmen. I was expecting Netflix or Amazon or, well, apparently we would have had Paramount, but the Premier League fucked us. But do we really just believe that? because the news comes out that we're closing in on a deal with Stake. The media and the fans absolutely lose their shit. 2 days later, report comes out, we had a deal with Paramount Plus, actually. Wonder why that was never reported before until the backlash. I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm just saying don't be too sure that it was true. Because otherwise, why wouldn't we have heard of that before? It's a bit funny coincidence, a funny time in that, isn't it? So, yeah, baffling to me. Now, again, I mean, I'll start with you, Mo. You've been smiling, you laughed away over there. If I've entertained people with sponsorships, that's good. But, I mean, where do you sit on this? Would you be okay with 3 for another season rather than Stake at least? Or would you rather Stake with more money than 3? I don't know. Like, both of these options that we seem to have now, and I don't know if they're going to turn up with something new or whatever, but from what it looks like, that will be they will win fucking in 2027. Like, today's the day this new sponsorship would have started, and my guy, they will get it. Well, they fucking had a year's time, mate. How much longer do they need? Like, what are we going to do? In August 30th, 31st, are we also going to write FIFA an email? Actually, mate, we need another month. Can we extend the transfer window, please? Do you know what I mean? It's not going to happen, is it? Like, what is this? They will get a sponsorship. When? Sorry, I'm but it's really triggering me. Mo, what's happening?
Oh man, it. You know what? I'll give you one thing, man. That is great detective work, man. The way you broke that stuff down. I think what's crazy with it is, you're absolutely right. By this time, there should have been an announcement of some kind. We had news break out several weeks
or
back.
At least take the old sponsorship off and be like, okay, we don't have anything yet. Fair enough. But that doesn't mean leave the old sponsorship up, though.
No, but it's what's more confusing to me is like usually by now we would have seen the new kit, we would have known already what sponsor we've got. Like all of this information would have been clear. If this happened last season, I would have been like, hey, I understand you guys are only just entering the club. You have a lot to fix, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense. A year later, there's less of an excuse for something like this to go down. I'm like, if we couldn't fix what's on the pitch, surely we could have fixed what needs to be done behind the scenes on the sponsorship side. And
instead, we fixed weird.
We fixed it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see on the whole on pitch stuff. The new season's still yet to come, but yeah, this is not a healthy look, man. I can't lie. Even I'm surprised. I didn't even realize any of the stuff you pointed out. I thought 3 was the only one that was there. I didn't realize the other ones had disappeared. And now that I look at side-to-side pictures, I'm like, yep, they have actually disappeared compared to what I last remember. And yeah, it's very strange. I'd like to think we'll fix it at some point, but you just never know, man. It's just so weird that I think as a club right now, we're in disarray the way we are. Like, we ain't got a sponsor. We have not announced the new kit. We've announced the manager. Some people were upset today that we didn't see a manager interview. And I'm like, guys, it's freaking Saturday. Calm down. Like, he'll probably be out on Monday. Like, calm down. And it's literally everything that you could ask for. I mean, even Twitter's gone down. Football Twitter is not having a good day at this point, apparently. So God knows what's happening. I'd like to think we'll fix this. Personally, I'd rather it not be either 3 or Stake, and I'd rather it be with whoever the sponsor is for the next few years. But we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and until there's some sort of transparency, we're out of the loop. So I don't know, man. It's just weird that obviously we haven't sorted this out.
Yeah, that is the weird part. Regardless of whether this now means 3 is staying or not, fact of the matter is 3 is still on our website, even though they're not paying us anymore. And that is amateur behavior, in my opinion. But yeah, maybe we should be getting sponsored by Minerals. That'd be quite fun, at least. Or just to, like, you know, free
Wi-Fi as well, man. Freaking hell, man. Stamford Bridge is a dead zone for signal, man. Fuck.
Careful, you might get Wi-Fi like Aaron has. So, you know. Or the Saudi investment. Just at least we can get a few people triggered then. You know, if we do that, at least we'll be a bit of entertainment.
Hey, you got a point, man. I like to trigger people, man. I think that's what
I'm saying. Really where do you stand on this? I assume you're not going to care. Like, I don't seriously care, but it's just to me, those sponsors, the main shirt sponsor, to me is always a big sign of where a club is. You know, Stake is a Watford, Everton level sponsor, right? Not that 3 is really good enough for us either, to be honest, but you know, at least closer to be honest, even Yokohama Tires was a bit dodgy. It's been all the way. It's been downwards trajectory since Samsung, really. But to me, it's the fact that you have your old sponsor on the website when their deal has expired, that is just poor. And if we are extending the contract for another year, because the backlash against Stake. I don't even like. I would even respect and appreciate them for fair enough. You're not going with Stake, but the deal with 3 has expired. Then there should have been a statement by now that we're extending the deal with 3, if that is the case. So it just makes us look like we're building a kindergarten team. We're a bunch of amateurs when it comes to the business side of things. What are we? Like, are we even better than #United? Honestly, they have better sponsors than we do. Fucking Wrexham of United Airlines. We got Steak. Do you know what I mean? Fucking Steak. My God. You get steak on first class of United Airlines flights. We only get the steak. They get the whole flight. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, so someone needs to clip this, man. I swear to God, I'm dying. We got steak.
Yeah. And we don't even have steak. We didn't even get those. Nah, I mean, good that we didn't get them. But do you know what I mean? But I'm glad you said this. And it's fair enough if you can just say, it doesn't matter. You don't care. That's okay. But like, what's happening?
I think it just makes the owners look bad more than anything. Like, you know how Ben Adigbali said he was, kind of took a dig at Roma's like off the pitch sort of, running of the club. Yeah, everything since they joined, has just been pretty much a circus, to be honest with you, in terms of like getting stuff done in the right moments. And yeah, I think it just makes them look bad, to be honest with you. This whole leaving the free end stuff up is just amateurish. And like you said, if they are continuing, then, where's the news? Where's the leaks? Where's all this? Getting Stake or looking like they were going to get Stake in the first place is, in some senses I understand, because there's not going to be much sponsorships out there. They're going to offer you the same price that Free did without, any European qualification. But the same sentence, like they bought in, was it Tom Glick? Then he got like fired or something for something, like that whole situation. And then they brought in one of Clearlake's members who has also done nothing, and you give all these PR statements like this guy will help us drive off pitch, negotiations. And it's just like, it's just a load of bullshit. Like, where's the evidence that something big is being explored here? And that is, like, I guess the whole Paramount thing, fair enough. But isn't it funny how that was leaked to the media after the Stake, rumors came out? It was almost like, try and feel bad for us sort of thing. Like, let's accept Stake, sort of thing. And I saw a few people like say, okay, I'm fine with Stake now. I found that out. That's exactly what they want you to find out. That's why they put that to the Daily Mail. So, I think it just looks bad on the owner's part. And I think, it does make you think that somehow Free is going to stay on. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, the one thing I actually do hate is how the new signings are in the old T-shirts. It just looks so stupid. Exactly. It's like you're literally going to have to post like new pictures of Jackson in the new kit for us to all actually make us excited and want to look at these pictures. It doesn't look right. Like you signed someone.
And that's what also making me think we're nowhere near close seeing, like, unless it's 3 again, we're nowhere near close getting a new sponsor done, because otherwise you wouldn't announce Matos today. You wouldn't announce Moreira today. I mean, we didn't have a picture with him anyway, but still, you wouldn't announce Jackson yesterday if you had a new sponsor in 3 days. You wouldn't do that. You would only do that if you didn't have a new sponsor lined up yet. Because otherwise, you would never, like, PR-wise, like, imagine you're the new, let's pretend for a second that Chelsea had a deal agreed with Stake or anybody else. And they see on June 30th, a day before their new sponsorship should have started. Now, July 1st, we see that nothing has anyway. But yesterday, people were still having a go at me. Oh, it's going to be something, whatever. Imagine you're the new sponsor, and then you see Chelsea make their 2 first signing announcements, Nkunku and Nicolas Jackson, both in the old child with the old sponsor. As the new sponsor, you're terminating that contract before it ever started. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine that. Like, obviously, I've been sponsored before. It's like doing YouTube things. Imagine, first of all, doing things more than you're paid for, then you're a moron. And imagine doing things to piss off your new sponsor. Like, then you're also a moron. It's just shocking to me. But another somewhat shocking piece of news that's come out of, I think, Spain, is that the FIFA will test a new offside law where the entire body of the attacker must be in front of the defender for it to be ruled out. The Netherlands, Italy, and Sweden will test it during some games. The player below, as the example picture, would not be offside with this rule. Now, it's not going to affect the Premier League this upcoming season and the European football either. But what do we make of this? Pais, I'll start with you.
There would be a lot more goals for starters.
It would defend. It would change defending as a whole.
Yeah, I don't agree with that personally.
Do you know?
Don't,
Because
no, I
you
don't
have to always be at least a yard deeper, no? Because the space between you and the keeper would automatically be bigger if he had that whole extra like space to use.
No, I'd rather keep it as. You know what I would do is I would bring in that like, you know that system where they have like it's like a robot. It determines if it's offside or not. I think that's the one they should use going forward. I don't think they should change any laws. I just think that should be implemented because whole VAR thing actually like really pisses me off. Honestly, like
Especially
how some goals are like disallowed because their fingers offside or something. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, exactly. Someone tweeted this as well. Timo Werner was robbed of legendary status with this rule. Imagine we had Timo Werner with this rules. He'd be the best striker in history, man. It's crazy. I mean, I'll get you in a second on that, Mo. I saw someone say when the offside rule was initially introduced into football, no idea what year it was, many years ago. But when that initially happened, the idea was to stop goal hanging, right? So you can't just leave a striker up there, punt the ball to him when there's no defenders around him. So that introducing the rule at the time before it existed makes all the sense in the world, really. But I guess the initial idea wasn't to like mean, oh, you need to be exactly this much on the line, otherwise you're offside. I don't really know what the solution is. Obviously, the semi-automated offside thing that Pais talks about is great, but then you still have such ridiculous decisions at times where I'm like, okay, so my toenail is offside, or the sleeve of my arm is offside, even though I'm shooting with my left foot, who was a yard onside. You know, like theoretically, none of this is really good. Maybe they should just bring in like a certain, I don't know what the English word for it is. You know, like some leniency in terms of like you need to be within 5 centimeters of the last part of the defender or whatever. Like if there's a 5 centimeter kind of line which you're allowed to be within, like almost you're allowed 5 centimeters offside, but not more. Like that would make a little bit more sense to me. But the whole body, I don't know about that one. Mo, what do you think about that?
Bro, as soon as I saw this, I said, this is so dumb. Like, why are we trialing things that don't address the real issue we actually have with offside rules at this point in time? Like, for me, the biggest thing is I saw this and my immediate thought was exactly what Max said. I said, God damn, we're going to see so many goals now. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be fun to watch maybe for the neutral. But I'm like, this is not what football's about. The biggest thing is, for me, what they need to address is stuff like exactly what you said a second ago, Laurenz, is stuff to do with like the arms and the hands or the toes or what, like stuff that basically more times than not, it's irrelevant to the context of the goal that is actually being disallowed, but they're disallowing it anyway because to them it's like, we are going by the letter of the law. I'm like, use common sense. It doesn't apply in this situation. Why are we doing this? And for me, I'd rather us address those types of situations rather than introduce dumb things like this where they consider a play that's in that position. I'm like, that play is offside. No one is going to have any argument against it. We could literally see it on the pitch. You could probably tell on the other side of the damn pitch. We don't have to have a conversation about this. This is not what causes controversy. Address the things that are causing the controversy and fix those types of stuff. And please, for the love of God, I can't believe this is FIFA saying they're introducing a new rule. Like, why? Like, who came up with this? Why did no one question it?
Just half a year ago did the whole new offside thing, and that hasn't even made it everywhere. The semi-automated offside VAR thing. Like, what are we doing? I don't agree with Sam here either, though, because what if you score a header? Do you know what I mean? The most logical thing to me would be if the part that you touch the ball with is offside, it's offside. If that's onside, it's onside. But then you obviously need to wait until the guy touches the ball. So I guess that comes with an issue. But I don't think you can say just feet and then score a header. That's also kind of contradicting itself. And that's brilliant. Another player we're interested in who can't even make an under-21 squad. Fits right into our kindergarten, to be fair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bring him in, man. Bring him in. Let's go.
Exactly. Mo's right about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes. Maybe over the year, we'll see these few games in Netherlands, Italy, and Sweden, and we'll realize, actually, this is amazing. But I doubt it. I doubt it. But yeah, one last thing that I want to talk about. I mean, I guess, I quickly bring up the daily news roundup from yesterday because there are a few smaller things that we haven't touched on. Just that Cazadai will either go on loan to the Premier League or Serie A. He had an offer from Leicester City reportedly, but I'm not sure if it's him or us that turned it down, but seemingly that's not happening. Ruben has, of course, left. Love you, Ruben. Thank you. I already said that the other day. And here it's just more on that Kobo stuff that we kind of talked about already anyway. So there wasn't really much to that. So that last bit I want to talk about, not a current Chelsea player. I guess somewhat debatable if he's a Chelsea legend, but Cesc Fabregas, one of the greatest passers of a football that has ever lived, has decided to hang up his boots and retire from football. And just shout out Cesc, what player he was. I don't think any of us, when he was at Arsenal, when he went to Barcelona, any of us expected that we would in the end have these feelings for Cesc Fabregas. But he turned up at Chelsea. A lot of fans were like, what's happening? Arsenal fans started hating him. He started loving us. We started loving him. I just want to put a magic hat on his hat and, just hug him. Because that especially that Jose season, when we won the league, he was out of this world good. That pass to Shirley for that goal away at Burnley.
Oh, yes.
It's just unbelievable. What a footballer he was. Honestly, unbelievable. And also a player that seems to just get on with everyone, which I like as well. Like, even Arsenal fans don't fully hate him, even though he's played for us. And he's like, and we love him as well. So, fair play to him. Maybe Real Madrid fans, they probably hate him. But everybody else, I think, is pretty okay with him. So, yeah, shout out to Fabregas and all the best for your retirement. I'm sure you will become a coach, probably a good coach. Maybe we'll turn up with him at some point.
I think he's doing coaching at Arsenal, by the way.
Oh, that's dreadful.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
it's the Italian club. Is that? I think.
Is it?
Is he doing
Yeah,
it at
he's-
Como?
He's staying there.
Ah, my bad.
used him.
I'm
Good
telling
message.
lies then in that case. I thought it was Arsenal.
Exactly. But Mo, much to say on him?
Bro, that Shirley girl, I swear to God, when I saw that assist, I said we're winning the title immediately after that game. I was like, we're winning the title. I see it. Diego Costa, Shirley, all of these players has that. Like, I'm like, there is no way. I have never felt that confident about a game. And then no, we beat Burnley, but it was just the way everything happened. I said, I don't even feel like I'm watching my club no more. Like, but in the most positive of ways, I felt so confident after the game. And it was down to this guy, man. Cesc Fabregas, one of the best football chants when you're going to games. And freaking hell, man, I have nothing but good things to say about him, man. Fantastic footballer, always gave his all for Chelsea. Were left in a respectful manner, despite obviously game time becoming less for him. Everything about him, man, I respect him as a footballer. I respect him as a human being. The only downside is I thought for a minute, and that's what I was going to say, is I thought he was coaching at Arsenal, but it seems like he's coaching at another team. I generally think, I don't know about you lot, but I generally feel like there's a good coach in there, guys.
Yeah.
I could be a criminal for saying this because we've seen, some legends go into coaching and it's not worked out quite well.
Please make him the new Pep and make him come to us, please.
But something tells me Cesc Fabregas is going to be one of those guys that is going to break that type of mold of coaches where people just think he's always saying this because he's just a footballer, like he was a former footballer. No, I actually think he understands the game really well. He's very good with people. He's very intelligent as a footballer as well. I think there's so much he could teach young footballers, but also I just think he could easily be a manager. So I hope that's exactly what ends up happening for him because he deserves it, man. Big up to him.
There you go. Shout out CFCPys from your end as well.
Yeah, unbelievable player. Really enjoyed watching him for Chelsea. Amazing passer of the ball, one of the best ever. One of my favorite goals was against Arsenal when he did this over the top ball at Stamford Bridge and Costa chipped the goalie. That was such a brilliant goal. It's just so good. Literally just bang bang, and it was in the net. So simple. Him and Costa had one of the best relationships between players on the pitch. So we've had a few of those down the years. Remember Lampard and Drogba, Fabregas and Costa, and funny enough, Azpi and Morata for a little bit. But unbelievable player, and always loved his chant. And 2 Premier League titles of us as well is pretty crazy feat considering how hard it actually is to win a Premier League.
Exactly. 2 Premier League titles with us. Obviously I think he won a Prem with Arsenal as well, actually. Obviously La Ligas with Barcelona. Never actually won a Champions League, which is kind of crazy.
That is sad.
Did he win a Europa League with us? No, he didn't, did he?
Did not win a Champions League with Barca at all.
No, he was never there when they won the Champions League.
That is mad.
But yeah, he won 2 Euros and a World Cup, so I think he'll live. Do you know what I mean?
How does Caballero win a Champions League and Fabregas doesn't? Sorry, Caballero.
No, it's exactly. But then again, Carrero's third choice goalie. Do you know what I mean? Rob Green won the Europa League.
Yeah, how does he win a trophy? Fabregas doesn't. That's funny.
No, exactly. It's crazy. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we wrap this one up. It was quite a long one anyway, in the middle of a conversation about the future, which I didn't necessarily even have planned. But hey, it was fun. So here we are. Hopefully,
it got a little bit here, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a teeny tiny bit. But hopefully Mo is correct and everything just turns out wonderfully. That's what we all want at the end of the day.
Please.
We're maybe just a little bit concerned that he might not. But if Mo is right, we're all buzzing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to Lewis, who obviously spent the first hour with us. Check out his channel. Link is down in the description as always. Please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com. And Pice, a few people in the chat have asked, where can they find you now that Twitter's down? So
goodness me, yeah.
You want to plug your Instagram maybe? Or
Not like literally nowhere. To be honest, I only really use Twitter.
Oh my, I didn't even think about that. Oh my days.
Pice is unemployed all of a sudden.
If you want to message me, I mean, I've got is that CFCPys on Insta, but I only really use it to message like journals and stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter with
on Instagram though, isn't that?
Huh?
London's First is on
Instagram. Yeah, true. London's First underscore on Instagram. Yeah, that's the one I mainly use.
Yeah, there you go. So you can check that one out, or just go to the website, innit? It's always there. That website ain't down. Website ain't run by Elon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we got a new piece up on that Angelo guy we signed. So if anyone wants to read that from a Santos fan, might be interesting.
Exactly. So go check that out, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, if you haven't already, like I said earlier already, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Hit that like button on your way out. Let's get to 150 likes before we all leave. And that'd be massively appreciated. Just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time, but it really helps me spread these streams and videos out to more people. And that's how us content creators grow on YouTube. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, up and onwards. We'll be back for another stream soon. And we'll see you next time.